Here we go.
In 5, 4, 3.
Call to me, lands far away.
Elves have forests to protect.
We need to build a wall.
Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
No.
Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
Nothing is over! Nothing! You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
Everyone! I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all. The past is dead.
We either move forward or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
To him finally being lionized in the prime and his prime. Fuck.
Do it!
Shit.
Just do it! Don't let your dreams change. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Luke went from being... Oh, no. Welcome, Slayer Nation. I have some great news for you today. I hope you're all doing great. Nope, that didn't work. One more.
You have failed me for the last time.
Welcome, Slayer Nation. I hope...
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
That is eating away at what you love in order for it to shine. And one man's vision is... Sometimes you don't have to make things better for them to be great again. You merely have to Okay. Hollywood continues to slow boil the culture and crazy. Well, right now, Spider-Man actor Andrew Garfield has stepped up and he's fighting motherfucker.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And unbearded dwarves, but Prime didn't stop there. They stapled in intersectionality, individuality, biddiga-dig-bee, biddiga-dig-boo.
So it begins. At my signal, unleash hell.
Ladies and gentlemen, George the Giant Slayer.
Welcome, everybody. This is Slayer Nation, and the camera went out right when I started. How are you doing? I'm your host, George Molho. It's April 13, 2025, in the year of our Lord. It is great to see you all. Got an amazing show coming up for you today. It's been an exciting week. A lot's going on. Been working on a lot for Slayer Nation, and you know what? This is the third camera, so it's now official. There's something wrong with my video card. Okay, at least we've identified it now. Let's see who's here. Kaladin 910, Aaron Charman, Roar. Oh, hail to you all. Josh Hammond, Talitha 34, Man of War, Neighbor of the Beast. I love everybody here. You know, I thought we would talk this week with our great panel about stories. The way that the narrative that we write in our lives, whether it's Hollywood writing one story that they believe in, DC, Western culture, how all these stories have been clashing for a while now, and how we're going to address it. What are we going to do about it? Every time we come together here, we add a new piece to that narrative. We add our voice in it. You add your thoughts into it. But I'm starting to believe that there's a point where certain people have been living a story so long, it's kind of like they've been telling a lie for so long that they now believe it themselves, which is the worst kind of lie someone can tell to themselves. And that they can't see through that bubble. We're going to cover it in Fantastic Four from Marvel this week. You know, Marvel had come out basically planting the flag. Forget the camera, I'm going to keep talking. So they're planting the flag and saying that Fantastic Four is going to come out this year, kind of reboot the entire franchise. Well, we have news that it seems they haven't learned their lesson. So we're going to get into that. And then we have Last of Us coming out tonight. It's going to premiere the second season for HBO Max. And the message that they're sending through their marketing. Plus, the UK is having so many problems. I send love to all my cousins across the pond, but it seems that we also have adopted some of those problems here in the United States. In Columbus, Ohio, we're going to see a result of it. We're also going to see a Guatemalan illegal who was let go by a judge, didn't hold them for ICE, and then the district attorney behind that who seems to believe that we should live in a two-tiered society. So it's interesting. All righty. Let's get going and let's bring everybody out here. And I'm going to burn this camera to the ground. Okay, we have Gothix and Baggage Claim. How are you doing, ladies?
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
We're doing great. You're looking wonderful, George.
Thank you. This damn camera. This is the third camera. I've been going through this for now 6 months. And I swapped out the first one, got the second one, and it did the same thing. So I'm like, okay, now it's official. Because someone told me a couple of weeks ago, if you're going on your third camera, there's something in the PC. So
probably your drivers.
It's got, I've updated, uploaded, inserted, done everything possible. I'm not a technical person. It's not my bit. I write, artist, lover, technician. I'm an idiot.
Writer.
That's it. And we also have Andre from Midnight's Edge, the DA, and Verbal Riot is here.
Greetings.
Greetings, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good.
We should have Warren Smith here in a little bit. Otherwise, there might have been some mix-up. He might be coming in late, or there was something with the date. But this is Slayer Nation, and we just roll forward. When he gets here, we'll talk to him. All righty. So the first thing that I noticed was the last 24 hours, you had Last of Us, one of the cast, decided that they would go down the route. You all know that Variety reporter who always turns up and is like, oh, yeah, is this the gayest thing you've ever done? And they're always like, yeah, you know, acolyte.
Yeah, and you know what? And they fall for the bait every time. That's the problem.
They do.
I don't think they fall for it. I think they can't wait till he asks that question so they can start gushing about it. They love that guy. They love that question. And it ruins everything. That every time that dude asks that question, it always turns out bad. But they love it. They keep coming back to him.
I think they ask him to ask that question.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
The thing is, this one didn't feel like it was asked. I think it was done for IMDb. The actress was just sharing her feelings. That's as big as I can make it because it's from a TikTok. There we go.
The Last of Us. Do you have a favorite moment from the first season of the show, maybe that made you really want to join the cast? I think a lot of Ellie's origin scenes, and she's with Riley, and that episode was great. Bella's extremely charming. Our chemistry is sort of undeniable, and the gays are going to be fed. Like,
okay, I'm not the only one who heard that, right? How do you know when a phrase is wrong? Insert something else in there. Anything.
Okay, I can do it. Narcissists are on constant look for supply. So if you exchanged gays for narcissists, they're going to be fed their supply. That's what I heard.
What if you put white people are going to love this show, black people are going to be fed, Mexicans are going to get fed? I mean, like, it doesn't hold together, because if anybody else would have said that, they'd have been torn apart. They'd be on, CNN, MSNBC. No, but not that anybody watches those. They'd have gone viral. Everybody would be attacking them. People would be swatting them.
But George, you don't understand. The white people have always been fed, okay? The gays are starving, so this only applies to them. But it's very narcissistic. I agree with it.
Yeah. It is, but there's no self-reflection. It's like back say, do you see that actor sitting there going, let me think about what I'm saying before I actually.
You know what? Okay, but here's the thing, George. I think I see where this is going with her. She wasn't part of the first season, right? She's probably going to have one season, and this is it. She doesn't care if this show sinks or swims.
Right.
I think that. I think at this point, man, if studios aren't going to wrangle their talent, then they deserve to fill. They deserve to fill. Like, if they're not going to wrangle their talent, if they're not going to sit them down in a room, give them some media training or something, then this is on the studio. This is all on the studio.
Why do you say
I heard someone try to defend the studio, saying that you can't control what people do, you can't control what the actors do. Actually, you can. You can. Okay. You make them sign. You make them sign an agreement that if they screw up your opening, that it comes out of their check. You can do a lot of things to stop this, and the studios aren't doing it.
But why do you think that? Well, we know that part of the reason is because they believe in it. But now we actually have, again, tangible evidence. A $350 million Disney film, their legacy film, the one that Walt Disney bet his home, borrowed against his life insurance, went to Bank of America, put his car on the line, started the studio, Snow White. And it was annihilated, not only because of Rachel Ziegler's comments, the continuation of the bad publicity, but it was the backing of Disney. I don't buy any of this stuff at the Mouse House. It was like, well, we tried to rein her in. We producer went to talk. I don't buy any of that.
No. Okay, they did try to rein her in, and they did try to do something, but it was too late. So I guess what a lot of people don't know is there was a shift in Disney before the election. I'm gonna say like probably earlier that year. New management came in. They started getting rid of a lot of activists. They started getting rid of a lot of people who weren't contributing, who were messing up the company. The problem is it was too little, too late, because they've already created this culture at this company, right? Where anything woke is great, even though they have been losing money, right? And Bob Iger is a coward. We got to remember that he's a coward. So he just let this happen. So then when a new management comes in, Bob Iger is like, oh yeah, I'm behind them too. And it's like, dude, you are he's a slime ball.
He's an opportunist. He's going to play every slide. But what you're also saying is it's very accurate to call the woke movement a virus, because once it's in, it is very, very difficult to root it out, especially of a culture. Once you destroy a healthy working culture at a company where it's about merit or creativity, once you infect that with this, identity politics, it's almost impossible to get it back out.
Yeah, and you also have to remember that they made the decision to take out the trans stuff in Inside Out 2. And that's why that movie made $1 billion. So there are people who are actively trying to save the company, who are actively trying to make money, but they still have this force that they have to work against, because that woke part is still there. And now it's like, everything's colliding at this point.
Well, that's what I wanted to know, Gothix, when we were talking backstage earlier about stories, right? And it seems that we now have two different stories coming out of Hollywood. We have that woke mind virus one, the one that the studios have been embracing and the one they've been trying to write for the culture. And we're slowly getting people breaking out of that. Not only from the audience, but from the actors. We're going to cover a little bit like Ana de Armas. She was talking about Ballerina at CinemaCon. and she had told Variety how she wants to stop with all the gender swapping. She's like, let Bond be Bond, let the men have their roles, and just start creating original characters for women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more of a cynic when it comes to this. I'm of the belief that these people that are pushing all this wokeness in Hollywood, I don't think they genuinely believe the things that they're injecting into movies. I think it's a little bit of like a sunken cost fallacy where they know they've invested so much of their time into the lie that if they oppose it, they're probably fearful that they're going to lose their job. They're going to be blacklisted from Hollywood. So yeah, I can see that there's definitely a conflict of worldviews within Hollywood, but that takes a lot of courage to step out of that box and say, no, I actually reject all of this woke nonsense. I mean, I'm glad that we're seeing it more and more, but I don't think the vast majority of people who are pushing this stuff actually care about making a profit. I think they care more about the message because they've been told that it's the message that, you're advocating for the greater good. Like that's their whole mission, not necessarily to make good art.
Right.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Gothix, because like these guys are doubling down, hell or high water. They don't care. They don't care how much money they lose. They're not concerned. Like you could look at the box office and you can look at the ratings and you can look at the viewership and you can look at all the lost money and how everybody's fleeing from Western entertainment, going over to Eastern entertainment with anime and with everything else. You can see the money leaving Hollywood and they still double down. They believe in this stuff. They are true believers, diehards, and they're going to keep going until, Hollywood burns all the way down. They don't care. So that's why you got to get these activists out of the business. Otherwise, you're going to lose your entire company.
And it should be said that these are activists on other people's money. It's not their money. These are people that have been employed. And at this point, I would say it's a violation of fiduciary duties to keep these people employed. Like, for instance, this asshole producer at Marvel who decided that, no, Silver Surfer has to be a woman. That, just saying that, should be a violation of fiduciary duties in this climate when you see that the success rate for doing something like that isn't expanding the audience. On the contrary, it's contracting it. You're not being inclusive, you're being exclusionary. Anyone who wants to do anything that appears to be more inclusive when it's so obviously against what the audience wants, they need to be fired. And failure to fire them, honestly, should open the executives at the company and even the CEO and the shareholders to lawsuit from the shareholders at large. I mean, the board members should be able to be sued for direct violation of fiduciary responsibilities for failing to fire these crazies.
Yeah, but that only helps in certain situations. Like this actress that we just saw. Like I said, she wasn't in the first season. She's probably not going to survive this season. She was in it for one season. So she doesn't care how well this does. She doesn't care if it burns. She doesn't care, if it fails, because she has no vested interest in this show. Like her contract is over. She's moving on to her next project, right?
Right, but she's participating in the Zegler effect, though. She's doing damage to herself and to the project. It could be good. I have no idea if Last of Us 2 is good. I haven't watched it. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue, though, is the producers who are actually working for the company behind the scenes, rather than any individual talent. Like, ignore the Rachel Zeglers for the moment. You don't go after the Zeglers; they're hired guns. You go after the people in your company that hired Zegler in the first place.
Look, you say what you want to about old Hollywood, right? And I get it. There was some shenanigans, there was some bad shit that went on. I understand that, but the one thing you got to give old Hollywood credit for, man, is they knew how to wrangle their talent in, right? They knew how to manage a set. A producer, when he stepped on the set and he said this has to happen, it happened because it was your ass. It was your career. Your career would be done in the 90s, 2000s, 80s if you went against the producer, right? But the producers have no power now.
Right. Hold on one second, because Baggage Claim, you had a thought you wanted to say earlier?
Oh, on the loss of money, I completely agree. It is that they're being irresponsible with other people's money, but even then, it's this point of pride with them. I'm sure many of you must have seen these clips going around where people on Instagram after the election said, at least as a woman, I could look at my daughter and say to her in the future that I chose women's rights over the price of eggs and gas, that was more important to me, right? And it's that posturing is that it's so embedded into the identity of activists that they are willing to fight for anything and brook any sort of consequence because they're fighting for a greater good, a greater future. But then when the action actually comes down to it, is that would you actually take the action? So if, let's say, you're voting and you support illegal immigrants, are you willing to house them in your home? Are you actually take the action to help them out? And that's the thing, is that it comes down to just posturing. It's just words. Even this actress, This Is Us actress, this is a very lowest effort attempt that she can make to get in with the gays, which is to be very in vogue. You're fashionable for pandering to a small subset of the population. Is that in her circle, everybody is pumping her up, like, oh, look, you're a champion for the gays, you're the champion for that. So first of all, I don't even think she's thinking about the success of the show. I don't even think that that's within her orbit. I think so many people are just going about their lives sort of just being very reactionary. They're not reflecting on the bigger picture of anything. And so all she thinks about is like, what's going to get me the most amount of attention and interest from people around me? Who's going to, how is the circle that I'm surrounded by, how are they going to be extremely impressed by me and give me as much attention as is humanly possible? And I think
there's clout in being gay in Hollywood. There's clout or supporting it.
Well,
one
second, Derek. One second. We got Robert Meyer Burnett joining us, the great R&B. How you doing, my friend?
This is a very interesting conversation I've stepped into.
All right, Derek.
Happy birthday,
Well,
Robert.
I was asking this question to the point of, we've been hearing that social media kind of drives a lot of the the castings. Like if your social media following is blowing up and people love you on social media, maybe that's why they're doing this. They're not just playing to, the narrative, but they're playing to their followers on social media, trying to get more. And the more followers they get, the more roles they get. That's the way Hollywood wants to cast people now, not based on actual acting talent, but based on how many social media followings you have. So maybe that's also playing into why they want to go in with the culture stuff, because that's going to get them the followers. Instead of, staying away from that and just, speaking about the movie or the television show that you're on. That to me would be the smarter move. But it seems like they're more interested in playing to some sort of a culture war battle or whatever, speaking on that. And that to me is insane.
But the numbers don't show it, man.
I agree. I agree with you.
Like, do people understand how ridiculous it is that the Minecraft movie is the number 1 movie for the second week in a row? And I mean by a lot.
That's
by
crazy.
a lot. This movie right now, domestically, is at $208 million. Internationally, overall, worldwide, it's $550 million this movie is made.
Right, it's crazy. I don't think R&B caught the beginning of it. We were talking about this. It started
has
from
nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to do with pandering. You know what's funny about the Minecraft movie is that it's not woke in the slightest.
Well, it was made specifically for a particular audience, which is they actually did their job. They're like, this is the movie we want to make for this particular group, and we're going to give them what they want. But Robert, before you came in, and this is what we were talking about, is basically the story that Hollywood has told itself and the one that they're trying to write for everyone. The same way politicians do it, NGOs do it, culture, education. And Last of Us, the second season starts tonight, and this actress was
in the new season of The Last of Us. Do you have a favorite moment from the first season of the show, maybe that made you really want to join the cast?
I think a lot of Ellie's origin scenes, and she's with Riley, and that episode was great. Bella's extremely charming. Our chemistry is sort of undeniable, and the gays are going to be fed.
Like, do you now replace that with anything else? Is that how you would sell and market a film? Well, you should say the story. Wouldn't it be the story?
What I find so strange about the world that we're living in now is because of social media and the way it exists, everybody thinks they can go grab. You guys were talking about clout.
Right.
People now can be activists without having to risk anything at all. They're just going on and they can say whatever they want to say, and they'll get people patting them on the back, but they haven't risked anything. They haven't you know, they didn't go work in a soup kitchen for a weekend to feed the homeless. They haven't gone to, say, an AIDS clinic and brought people that were suffering from that are in hospice care or something. They haven't actually done anything. And the problem, I think, with our modern age is because of social media, look, it's hard enough to try and find meaning in your life. And now people can get nourished because they say that they believe in something, and immediately you got a bunch of likes and you got people commenting on what you've said, and it makes people feel better, and they feel like I've contributed to the world today to speak up for whatever, even though they can turn off their computer, turn off their phone and walk away, and they've risked nothing. It's all performative, and it really is not helping, and it's an illusion.
Right.
And there aren't people like look, my grandmother, who was she was not rich, but she was a well-to-do woman, but her cause in life was the Seattle cancer research. Seattle has one of the great children's cancer research facilities in the world. She died herself of cancer at 56, my grandmother. But she was always at that hospital. She was always visiting terminally ill children. She went on TV and worked the phones when they did the telethons. She spent her life trying to raise money and she walked the talk, and she would go places and do things and was a true activist as much as she could be. And I saw that when I was a little kid in her, and it was her, she lived and breathed it. And you know, when people have a real cause and are committed to something, you see their actions, you see how committed people really are. And when you make a comment like the gays, I mean, I don't think that the gay community is lacking any kind of activism. I mean, Stonewall was a long time ago, and they don't need people speaking up for them because there's a same-sex relationship on a TV show that they're acting in. That is, to me, just ridiculous, and it's pandering, and you're using someone else's community as a tool, a fulcrum to advance yourself on social media. It's really gross.
Well, that's why I wanted to get your perspective, because I thought you would say that, because the fact that, but is it the studio's fault? Is it a combination of the studio,
absolutely the studio's fault, because they're the ones who are not wrangling in their people, man. Like, I'm telling you, this wouldn't have happened back in the day. It wouldn't have happened, man. These studios would have been all over these people for trashing their opening, right? I'm saying opening like it's a movie, but you get what I'm saying. There was a certain protocol in Hollywood, right? And if you went against that, your career was done. You were done, right? For good or for bad, you were done. So,
and you were under contract with the studio.
Yes,
so
exactly.
And it wasn't a contract on a per film basis. A studio would contract you. They had people that would oversee their company of players. So they had people that would get involved. They had fixers that would get involved in things when
to fix them. Yeah, it's like in the, what was it, the one with Russell Crowe and Kevin Spacey? Remember LA Confidential? You know, the way they had the fixers running around. But so what do you think? Okay, we know part of the studio's part of it is to blame. We get that part. But Baggage claiming Gothix, do you think this tells a different narrative? Like underneath it, the mentality that would go, like what Robert just addressed. You know, someone's trying to stake their claim to fame, whether it's for 15 minutes or to use a group to prop themselves up. That's the issue I want to get to. What's the mindset in there? Is this just someone who's going, I want to pick out of the soapbox dish, whichever one I think is popular right now? Do they actually care? Is this the way they were raised? The mindset is what I want to understand.
Well, I think what Rob said, it's totally spot on. I think human beings, by and large, are seeking some type of purpose in their life. And when they don't have that objective thing that propels them forward, they tend to latch on to different things just to essentially just to give them a pat on the back, to say, like, look at me, I'm helping. And as far as like Hollywood not wrangling these people in, I think that would go against their communist ideology. And that ideology is one that wants to continue pushing this idea of identity politics. So to them, I mean, to like the bigger picture, I think it makes sense for someone to say, you know, the gays are going to eat, because like it feeds into this growing narrative of just baiting people based on identity. So yeah, I think it's just it's weird, because I think people advocate for certain things for different reasons, but I think by and large Hollywood is very narcissistic, and it's very easy for you to get on a soapbox and say, look at me, I'm helping, when all I'm doing is just regurgitating a narrative, but I'm not actually doing anything to help anyone. But for a lot of people, that's totally fine. A lot of people appreciate the message, even though it doesn't lead to anything tangible in real life.
Right. I was going to say, what's odd is I didn't play the last part, which isn't important. She goes on to list the editor of the production was like, and she was saying, and the editor is gay. It's like, and the writer is gay. And look, everybody, this is how you do it. It's authentic. And I was sitting there when I was watching, I'm like, what does sexuality or sexual have to do with writing or directing or acting? Like, does that speak to your expertise in anything?
Well, really quick, just to add to that, because a lot of people, their whole purpose in life is to be gay. Like that's the thing that they center their life around. So for them, that alone is enough.
Right. I mean, it's like Spielberg made, Schindler's List. He didn't have to go, hey, you know what? I used to run a concentration camp at one time in my former life. It's like, no, I'm being serious. It's like the way I see so many things. And when you read certain articles, they're like, we need to find people with the authentic experience of the particular production for everything. I'm like,
since you brought, there's a great clip, and I don't know what Denzel Washington was promoting, but he was talking about how maybe it was for Fences or something, but he was saying, Martin Scorsese directed Goodfellas and Steven Spielberg directed Schindler's List. Right. And he made the point that Martin Scorsese could have directed Schindler's List and it probably would have been great. But what Denzel then said, it isn't about color, it's about culture. And he uses the example of when you hear you can smell a hot comb before going to church on a Sunday in a black household. Everyone knows what that's like. And that's culture. And what you need to make something authentic is Steven Spielberg came from a culture. Martin Scorsese comes from a culture, and their cultural awareness and upbringing is what gives them insight into making something authentic. It feels real. And Denzel Washington was making the same point when he was directing something. It's the culture he comes from that allows him to bring an authenticity to something. And I think that's true. The problem is that culture is not necessarily the overriding story point of the whatever story they're trying to tell. And I don't think anyone's sexuality or their ethnicity it makes them better storytellers or better writers. I think writers see beyond all that. You have to see a certain universality to storytelling. The great storytellers are able to straight, gay, black, white, male, female. The great storytellers, that doesn't matter. Understanding character and story and the human experience is something anyone can possess, regardless of what their personal identity is.
Well, and especially you're talking about The Last of Us, which is a movie, a show about zombies, right? Or whatever they are, creatures, something. End of the world, apocalypse, right? Whatever. It's a movie, it's a show about that. And yeah, of course, in an apocalypse, guess what? There will be gay people. There'll be straight people. There'll be a bunch of different people. No one's denying that, right? But when you focus in on that, what you're doing is you're telling an audience that just wants to watch a zombie show that, hey, get ready. There's going to be a lot of butt sex in this show, right? Like yeah. That's what you're doing. And you're pushing a big percent of people out of watching your show.
You're right. It could be a great season. I have no idea. It could be a great story. But when you when you propagandize it that way, and you try to pander, you're going to push a lot of people away.
You know what it is?
But it also shows the quality that goes into it. Think about it. To me, it's even more important. What is the mindset where someone's going like, okay, I have a choice between two editors, two of them. And you go, these are two great editors, right? Which one's the best for this film? Like which one has the experience, the cinematic history behind them, the life experience? Oh, but I just want to go with the gay one. Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make you better. Or if you go, I want to go with the white one. I want the best one.
And I think what you were saying, George, at the beginning is it comes down to stories. And the question is, what story is a person telling themselves? And it's one simple distinction, is that do you believe that a person is special from the moment that they're born, that they're just special? Or do you believe that people are special because of what they do, what value they create for other people, what they accomplish in their lifetime? And if you believe the first perspective, then you think just the simple concept of being gay is special. So it doesn't matter if you're a special editor or have special stories to tell or interesting ideas. All that matters is that you are gay, or all that matters is that you are trans. And I noticed this specifically with polyamorous people, is that whenever you come across especially on TikTok, polyamorous people only talk about how they're polyamorous. Their entire lives are consumed with that concept. Now, if you think about monogamous people, they don't sit and talk about their monogamy all the time. They look at a relationship as something that it's a foundation you build with someone, and then that's it. Like, you kind of move on from that and then go and accomplish all these other things. But polyamory almost is like an end in itself, because first of all, it is so complicated. It is so eternally complicated that you have to sit and work through every little detail of it all the time. And if you see, I know I'm really hammering down on this because I think there's a really interesting explanation in it, is that if you look at any polyamorous TikTok creator, they will answer 1,000 questions that other people have for them. And so just the fact that people have questions for them, it's this validation that they are special. And that's why they need to have these AMAs to sit and explain their very special lifestyle. But it's this detail, like my husband has a girlfriend and she lives with us and she helps with raising our children. And then I have a boyfriend, but I also have a side piece. And then I see him on Tuesdays. And when I come home, my husband actually rubs my feet and asks me questions about my time with my side piece. But then my boyfriend will sometimes come in the morning and then just like hang out with my children, and then we'll go. And so there's this whole life is like completely wrapped up in this. And that's the point, is that they want to be wrapped up in that identity. And like, that's the whole idea of what Vanessa was saying, is that they want to make their entire life about being gay. And so that's a great way to not work on anything else. You don't need to sit and try to be, go volunteer at a local hospice or help homeless people or go to soup kitchens or anything. You don't need to do all that. You can have the trivialities of your life completely subsume you, as well as get as much attention as possible for just doing that.
Right.
The thing about Hollywood culture is so easy to fake it, right? The thing I have a problem with when it comes to the LGBTQ, if I'm being really honest, is this weird, like they want to compare their struggle to like the Black struggle in America, right? Growing up and shit like that. I was at a barbecue last year, right? It was some friends of mine that live in the Hollywood Hills. We were hanging out, and of course, there was a big mix of people there, very diverse. There was 3 trans people who were there. I don't know these people. I just knew the friends that invited me. So we're all hanging out at this big table, just talking about different things, movies, shows, games, everything. But I noticed, because I wasn't paying too much attention, but I noticed that the 3 trans people who were talking to their group were only talking about being trans, and they kept making these weird comments about how their struggle and their one person said something along the lines of, they had a Rosa Parks moment. And I looked over, like I stopped and I was trying to avoid this. I was trying to avoid even having any kind of conversations with these people. But I looked over at them and I didn't say anything, but I just kind of looked, and they looked at me and they were like, "You agree, right?" I'm like, "Hell no."
Right. I'm curious.
I'm at a Hollywood party and I looked over at this person and I'm like, "Are you really?" And this person was about 40 years old. I'm looking at them like, "You lived your entire life in America as a white man for what, 30, 40 years? All of a sudden now you're a woman and you understand the struggle?" But they believe crazy shit. And I'm like, "No."
It might have been. Wait a minute. Quick question, Verbal. Was that at the Diddy party?
I have to keep saying this over and over. Legally, I have never been to a Diddy party.
You are dressed all in white, so that is very suspicious.
I'm just saying, man. I know the fans who are watching. I have never ever been to one Diddy party.
I was just saying that sounds like those, CIA. I can neither confirm nor deny them.
I have never been to one, but no.
Next time when you'd hear them, if they're singing Amazing Grace, that kind of gives it away.
But no, it's seriously though. It's just this. It's this weird, like they want to be victims so bad. They want to pretend they have this imaginary struggle, and it's just, and Hollywood eats that up.
It's sad when you really get down to it. It really is sad that someone's entire life, their identity is. It would be like, I'm going to go start a TikTok channel. I'm straight. I like women. Episode 1. I like women. I like curvy women. I like a lot of women, and I'm straight with a lot of women who it doesn't hold together. I would feel depressed if the only thing that I had in my life was what I liked about it makes no sense to me. And it's something that I had talked about in my woke monologues. I really do believe that part of the story coming out of Hollywood and the culture of that has been radicalized is they really wanted to take every broken toy and say, hey, we have a way that you can all feel special. You don't have to do shit. Just go wreck the world. Go break it. That's it.
I think, though, that all of it comes down to, I think it's really difficult now in our world to find meaning in one's life. It used to be that we had career tracks, or we sort of had easier understanding of what society expected us to do. And a lot of those things have been dismantled, taken apart, don't even exist anymore. And I think a lot of people they really are looking for meaning in their lives wherever it can be found. And social media, which has really only existed for, let's call it, the last 15 years. The iPhone was introduced in 2007, but you now have a whole place. You have this realm, social media realm, a land globally that never existed before, where you have a place where you can go and get immediate affirmation. And it's for whatever it is you want to do. I mean, if you want to, grow orchids, there's a whole orchid community that will look at your pictures and tell you what you've done, and you can become enamored or immersed in whatever it is you want to do. But it's very illusory. It's not real. It's not based on real interaction. You don't have to risk anything. You can be anonymous. Mm-hmm. And I think that our world itself is becoming a place where, look, there's a lot of forces out there that would love to have us all stay in our homes all day long, order everything online, have it delivered to our houses, and we'll just be content to stay home and not participate in the world around us. That would make it a lot easier for the larger forces that are pulling the strings that are controlling our world. And people are buying into it. They're not like, it's people say, get out and touch grass. Well, that's what we need to start doing more as a culture, because once you interact with other people face to face, all of this kind of stuff goes away. Mm-hmm. Right. And it is all of your personal identity. You can't, like, when you're talking to somebody or you're trying to complete a task, let's say you're working on a construction crew and you're framing a house. No one is really worried about your personal identity. They're worried about what kind of a carpenter are you? How can you effectively nail boards together? If you're doing a task, that becomes the most important thing. And we need to get back to that. I think as a culture, we need to start interacting with one another in the flesh, face to face, going out into the world and doing things, because then people aren't stewing in their own identity juices. They have to go out and interact with human beings in front of people. And that's how our civilization used to work. And it's being taken away from us. And what we have left are people looking for meaning while they're sitting in front of their computers.
I'm beginning to think
that's a hard thing to do.
You're right. See if you agree with this. You think maybe the fact that social media is so young, we're almost going through the teenage phase of it?
We're not even there yet.
No,
we're elementary school kids.
I noticed it. Have you all seen how you had that one YouTuber was in New York and she was in front of Planned Parenthood and she was asking questions of someone in front of it, and all of a sudden she got punched in the face? Oh yeah. And I'm like, and you see that over and over. I think I have a clip of, not that one, but hold on one second. There was somebody else yesterday who here it is. Somebody else yesterday who just decided for no reason to attack someone.
They actually found that woman, by the way, and
she got arrested.
She's not remorseful at all.
She's
sees nothing wrong in her actions. But I think that's the result of the company that you keep too. In addition to however you're raised, is some people think that reality is how you should be living. Like it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm not surprised either, especially because it's New York.
Right, but throwing hands, I mean, growing up, that was something last resort. You know, somebody called your mother something, or like it just never, it wasn't because you disagreed. I mean, the worst you said was F you, and, you know.
But George, it's not that she just, you know, it's not the fact that she did it. She did it on film in front of a bunch of people. Like,
and
that.
She didn't care. She was waving her hand, shaking her butt, you know, like whatever. But
feeling you had all kinds of entitled.
Oh, yeah. You had this happen yesterday.
No, Topher.
You have your own opinion. Just because. Hey, don't do that. That's just disrespectful. You should not have done that.
But she doesn't seem to give a damn. Like none. She's just like, that's where I want to go. Where did that enter in the face? That can't be a product of social media.
Oh, no, that couldn't have been me, bro. Couldn't have been me.
I do believe social media makes it worse, though, because what does social media do, right? It trains you to kind of like have a distance between yourself and other people. Normally, when you have interactions with people, you also learn to be a little bit civilized, because you know, however, the rules of society are stuff like that. The moment that you step too far, you are going to get a punch in the nose back again. You just know this intuitively. But the thing with social media or any kind of online interaction is that now you are separated. You know that you are dealing with someone else, but you can say whatever you want without consequence. So then you are suddenly trained in the saying what you want, doing what you want, and at the same time you have the algorithm. You see all these videos of other activists and stuff like that acting all kinds of entitled, and it kind of trains you to be a little bit narcissistic yourself, a little bit less empathic, and then suddenly you are in a real situation, and now this thing that I'm gonna get a punch in the face doesn't kick in, because you have now received a lifetime. Of course, these are young people, but still they have years of training, functionally their lifetime of training, that you can say what you want, and all you're going to get is "you go girl," and you get all kind of support, and then you suddenly act that way in real life too, because this is what you've been trained to do in social media.
Well, yeah, it's like Mike Tyson said. Mike Tyson said, you know, the people have gotten so used to social media to disrespecting people that they forgot what it feels like to get punched in the face. And
yes, exactly. That's it. They have forgotten, or they don't believe that there's any repercussion. There used to always be an undercurrent of, well, consequences. You fuck around, you find out. It's simple.
Yeah.
You play a bad game, someone's going to knock you the hell out, and no one does it. Or there was another video that I saw the other day where it was in, I think it was the UK. A woman was walking up the stairs from the tube, and somebody was trying to pick a pocket of an elderly lady, 70, 80-year-old lady. She's walking up, and the woman saw her with her child, and she smacked the person's hand, stopped him, not hit him, just the older lady walks away, and he turns around and slugs her, then comes back and spits on her, and no one did anything. She did the good thing and stood up. And I was sitting there going, that's what we need more. We need more people to stand up like they used to. But it was the mindset that I was going for, is this degree of fantasy where they can do whatever they want, however they want. Like the lady who decided, I'm going to punch you in the face. Hopefully now, when she's arrested, she's going to learn. You do that enough times, people are going, okay, can't do that anymore.
You know what's crazy to me about all this? And believe me, because I have a lot of friends who are, you know, basically white liberals, and they don't understand like weird concepts, man. Like I grew up in the hood, right? The hood I grew up in, you know, wearing the color blue literally could have got me shot at any time. And I'm talking like from
Crips and Bloods type stuff.
Age 10 to 18, right? Yeah. So here's the thing. Do I have the right to wear whatever color I want? Sure I do. It's my right. If I want to wear green, blue, yellow, whatever, I have the right to, right? Should I though? If I live in a neighborhood that is predominantly like a blood neighborhood, should I be wearing a bunch of blue? Even though it's my God-given right to do it? Probably not.
Because you're using your brain.
Right?
You're using your brain. Okay.
See, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's, and I get it. There's a cultural difference, right? There's a difference, and they never grew up with that, so they don't understand it. But I feel like people who claim to be so in tune, right, with people of color and just other cultures, they should be attuned to shit like that.
I agree. Let's take some super chats real quick. Derek, say what you're going to say, and then I'm going to jump to the super chats because we have some.
No, I was just in agreement with Dante on that. And it's just similar to the Tesla situation as well, where all these people are hopping out of the vehicles, rolling up on cats and Teslas. It's just going to take one situation that goes left for everybody to slow that type of action down. So, yeah, just sadly and unfortunately, action is going to be required in order for these guys to kind of learn their lesson. And it's going to get caught on camera, and then everybody's going to outrage about it. But at the end of the day, you can't just be rolling up on people acting the fool.
No, you can't. And by the way, remember I had to update it because I said I was going to rent a Tesla. In my area, they're not available till 2026. So many are rented up. I want to rent a Cybertruck. So I'm having a sign made to put on my car. Cybertruck, Tesla, MAGA. Because I'm like, okay. Because you should be able to do that without having any problems. Zero.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. I don't care. It's like I want to make a statement about it, but yeah, I tried to rent them, and 2026 was the earliest date. I wanted to get the Cybertruck to rent it, but not because I had the regular one. Anyway, let's take a few super chats. I saw there were some questions. Steel Leg of History member for 15 months. Yeah, we're 15 months strong. Thanks for the support and kindness. Just hit 652 subs. Way to go! And if you like to watch someone play games and have a lot of fun, go check out Steel Leg of History's channel. Great person. Bless you, brother. Steel Leg of History for $2. Be blessed. So proud of you all. Proud of you, brother. Thank you for that. We got Eric K, the king of the mods, gifted 5 George the Giant Slayer memberships. Didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Everybody, please go thank Eric K. That's a beautiful thing. I have for $5 with tariffs. Hollywood merchandise is also going to take a hit. All those Star Wars toys that don't sell are going to be a much bigger loss. We're going to talk about that in a minute because I wanted to say, because I really want to hear what everyone thinks about it, that will Hollywood now start changing with the backlash from China? Just think about that for a moment because they're going to start blocking a lot of Hollywood pictures. Thank you, AF.
I mean, they already do.
Yeah, I know, but now they're, in retaliation for the tariffs. So we should start seeing a change in Hollywood pretty quickly, because if they're going to have to focus films made primarily where they're going to have Americans embrace it, can't be shitting on them all the time. Jose Taco, member for 11 months. House of David on Amazon is good. I just started watching it Thursday. I love it. Thank you for that. Everybody, you can go check out the House of David. It's done really well. It's kind of like a biblical Game of Thrones. A good one. Mark Daly for $10. Disney's, which I'm surprised that Amazon is doing, but they've got a whole slate of religious-based films, biblical ones. Mark Daly for $10. Disney sent Vanessa Kirby on the road with the same script they gave Rachel. Yeah. Like the palace, Disney has learned nothing and forgotten nothing. They never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. We're going to get into the Fantastic Four now.
Vanessa Kirby is also now she's saying all this woke nonsense too.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that. Oh yeah. It seems like everybody from Johnny Storm no longer being a womanizer and a funny guy like he was. Yeah, Mexican Iron Man, incredible producer. For $5, I had my own Rosa Parks moment when R&B accused me of bringing Caucasian instead of Mexican. Oh wait, I might be LOL. I thought you had your own Rosa Parks moment when you built your own billboard at Home Depot. Will work for. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Mark Daly for $10. Disney canceled the live action Tangled. Yeah, that was beautiful. Rumor has it, Cynthia. Oh. Damn.
That would be.
I saw that name.
Actually, I want this movie to happen now.
Wow.
Please make this happen.
Hey, Cynthia, you know what? She has an amazing voice, just a wackadoo in interviews. Cynthia Erivo was in the running for the lead. Yeah. The only Disney IP she belongs on is Gargoyles. She's a dead ringer for Lexington.
Oh, man.
But Black Cane for $5. Civilized men are more discourteous than savages because they know that they can be rude without having their skull split, as a general thing. Conan.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a great quote from Robert E. Howard right there from the story Tower of the Elephant.
Oh, that's awesome. I always love the quote from the movie. What are the best things in life? The Elusive for $10. Give a man a mask and you'll see his true face. Oscar Wilde. Nothing describes social media better than that. And he died in 1900. Think about it. I love that, Elusive. Thank you. I'm going to go print that out. Blitzen, how you doing, Blitzen, my brother? He gifted 10. George the Giant. Thank you for that. Please, everybody, go thank Blitzen. I think that was it, or I thought we had a question. Is there a question? Oh, we got them all. All righty. Now let's jump over to Fantastic Four. I was so looking forward to this movie. Just was.
I don't know why.
As they said, because they learned their lesson. It's not going to be like phase 4 and 5. We heard the audience. We got the message. That's why I bought into the BS. Okay.
Female Silver Surfer. Female Silver Surfer. They announced that right off the bat.
I know, but it was in the comics, so I figured, okay, they're just picking a different.
No. Here's the thing: you have to look at when was this movie being developed and what was in theaters at the time. They had learned nothing. The only things that you can even trust, even begin to be optimistic about, are the things that are in development right now and which won't be getting the green light until later this year. For stuff that's already in the can.
I've been hearing things from the inside that it's actually, I mean, I've seen a lot of the stills and videos. It looks good. My problem is that I just don't have any trust.
Well, yeah,
I don't have any hope. Like as good as the pictures looked, as good as the videos looked, and my sources are pretty solid. I'll take their word for it, but I just can't. I can't let myself have hope.
Yeah, I do not doubt for a second that the movie is going to look amazing. I mean, look-wise, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Unfortunately, that, pun intended, that doesn't help, because if there is one woke thing in it, that's enough for the audience to recoil. Because
well, there already is. I mean, female
worldwide, exactly, and that's enough. But you can write the movie off already because of that. It doesn't matter how amazing it looks. It doesn't matter how good anything else is. The remnants of wokery that may be there is going to bring it down all over the world.
Yeah. Well, here it says it. Marvel Studios seems determined to double down on the very approach that has left many fans questioning the direction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with a Fantastic Four first step set to hit theater, blah, blah, blah. Vanessa Kirby's recent comments about exploring gender politics through her portrayal of Sue Storm signal that Marvel is once again leaning into identity-driven storytelling. And it goes on down here. Kirby, who plays Sue Storm, also known as the Invisible Woman, told Entertainment Weekly that her character's journey was shaped by modernizing Sue's role to reflect today's cultural climate. Quote, if you played an exact 60s Sue today, everyone would think she was a bit of a doormat. So figuring out how to capture the essence of what she represented to each generation, where the gender politics were different, embody that today was one of the greatest joys. How was she a doormat? If I remember, didn't Kirby make her to be like the perfect mother, wife, girl?
She was the heart. She was the heart of the team, right? Like Reed was the big brain, but Reed was very unrelatable. He was very like almost standoffish in a way. She was the heart. She kind of kept everybody happy, kept everybody together, and. Look, if they hold true to that in the film, then fine. I'm good. But if they make her a girl boss and veer off from that, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, then you have Johnny Storm. The trend doesn't stop with Kirby. Joseph Quinn, who plays Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, also highlighted how his version of the character has been sanitized for modern sensibilities. Speaking about Johnny's traditionally brash and womanizing personality, Quinn remarked, quote, he was branded as this womanizing, devil-may-care guy, but is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings.
So he's not Johnny Storm, in other words.
Nope.
So he's not going to be. That's basically what I just.
We're not getting.
He's not Johnny Storm. He's not the character we know. So that's the thing I don't understand. Like, why play around with these characters? These characters have worked in comics for decades. Why mess with them? If you want to, start them as a womanizer and then move them into some sort of character growth, fine. But this is Johnny Storm, and he's already telling us he's not going to be Johnny Storm. So now it's like, okay, so we got Johnny Storm not being Johnny Storm. Okay, we're going to explore gender politics through Sue Storm's character. We already got a female Silver Surfer. I'm out mentally. I'm hearing all of this.
And we have Pedro Pascal.
Let's stop on that quote.
Oh my God.
From Quinn, there was a major tell in that quote that many people are missing. George, can you read that quote one more time, and I'll stop you? That thing that he said, just read it, and I'll stop you when we get.
Okay,
to it.
Hold on. Let me pull it back up because I got it here. Here you go.
Just read the quote.
Yep. Which, from her or from him?
From him.
Okay. Here we go. He says. He was branded as this womanizing, devil-may-care guy, but is that sexy these days? I don't
Stop
think.
right there. Says who? Which standards do you apply? Who appointed themselves God and decide what women find sexy today? Because here's the thing, that kind of woman chasing attitude that Johnny Storm liked, that is something that women, whether you like it or not, all over the world are biologically coded to be attracted to. And here comes this guy, and well, of course, it's not his words. He's only preaching a narrative here, but he's saying, is that sexy today? I don't think so. Oh, so you are saying that human biology, which goes back not thousands, but literally millions of years, that suddenly changed. It's changed in the most recent years. Who the hell made that change? Who are you to decide that? Who decided that on your behalf? That is the key thing right here. This is someone that's trying to alter with human nature and what you should find attractive. This is someone who is, I would say, fundamentally misogynistic in their attitude, deciding that women do not find his behavior to be attractive anymore. I bet you it was a man who said that.
Gotcha.
Well, also from what I heard, I believe the actor who plays Johnny is gay. So,
yeah, well,
it's funny. Adrian,
that might also answer part of this too.
Yeah.
Adrian Curry has a statement about characters, which I thought was fascinating. This post: if modern audiences no longer want handsome, selfish, womanizing male characters with a redemption arc, why do they still date them in real life? Chicks dig fantasize about alphas who potentially fall in love and soften, not betas. See Khal Drogo and Tony Stark. Again, it's like Hollywood keeps missing what people like. Why did they show Chris Evans as Captain America coming out all, when he was transformed? They did that for the women.
Oh, are you kidding me? If you look at like the early MCU, every guy had his shirt off. Thor was shirtless.
Oh, yeah.
Captain America was shirtless. Tony Stark was shirtless. They were all shirtless.
Yeah.
Tony Stark was an unrepentant womanizer.
And alcoholic.
I mean, he was meeting reporters at events and sleeping with them, taking him back to his mansion. I mean,
Star-Lord went on a 6-month training program to get abs because he was chunky before. That was for the female gaze right there.
He also talks about painting the inside of his spaceship like
oh yeah, like a Jackson Pollock,
like a Jackson Pollock painting.
It says don't take a UV light there. Yeah. So I guess that's it. Maybe that starts to answer more of the question, Vanessa. It's like we saw earlier in that Turning Points USA clip where that furry-headed furry threw the water at the gentleman, right? You have people who've been growing up who are doing kind of like the recreational outrage to get media clicks, to get clicks. Plus, they've been raised in that or radicalized and they believe it. But then you also have, on the other side, a whole generation of men who are feminized.
Yeah.
Like who just sitting there and like, okay, bend me over, while my
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about are you referencing like the guy that got the water thrown on him?
No, not him at all. I'm just generally wonder.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a combination of stuff, and I think that person, I don't even know if that's a woman or a guy that threw the water on him. It's like, we also live in a culture that equates words to violence, so they think that their actions are justified, and they've never been told no, and it's just like a ticking time bomb. I mean, I wish I could say that I'm surprised that people react in that way, but I'm not.
Yeah, I'm waiting. The thing is. I've hoped that we would have found a way to solve this much earlier, because everything always usually ends with something horrible. It's like there's usually a horrible wake up moment where people are like, okay.
I think for some people, but I think a lot of people, especially if they believe they've convinced themselves that their purpose is to make some grand statement and they're willing to die for it, to them it doesn't really matter. So unfortunately, even a big catastrophic wake up moment, I think a lot of people they wouldn't flinch. And I mean, that's just the reality, man. It's kind of sad.
It is sad. I like, by the way, your Rippaverse.
Oh, thank you.
That is awesome. Awesome.
I would say about the womanizing aspect, if it's part of a character, then I don't think you should change things like that. But from just a cultural perspective, I wish there were a happy in between for male presentation between a womanizer and then like a complete womanly himself in many ways. Beta. And maybe I know I can be prone to being pretty old-fashioned, and I don't mean 60s old-fashioned where Bond was sleeping with as many women as possible and backhanding them whenever possible. I mean even more old-fashioned than that. I wish that the male hero, it would be someone that isn't interested in having sex with anything that moves, and is instead very discerning and has self-respect, and instead is looking for something real, something valuable,
a gentleman,
a gentleman, like a proper gentleman. And if to me, and maybe this is just speaking to the phase of life that I'm in my mid-30s. I'm in a marriage. I'm very satisfied in that situation of monogamy. So I think the idea of watching someone who's just womanizing all the time actually is a huge turnoff to me. When I was in my early 20s, I would see men like that and I would think of them as like, oh, I can fix that, right? That was like the thing that was kind of built into me. It's like, oh, I can change this man. And that's a very flawed idea to go into any relationship with. But I think the really true value that would surpass time, transcend time, is the type of man that's very discerning and gets into a proper relationship. He's not a pushover. He's not trying to prove anything, but he's also not just a slut either.
Well, that's Captain America, basically. I mean, that's Steve Rogers, right? I mean, the thing is, Johnny Storm we're saying the word womanizer pretty loosely with him, right? He likes the ladies, is what we're trying to say. I mean, he's not like a total man whore. I mean, the guy is a hero.
He's not Bond. He's not Bond.
Johnny is a young hothead, right? Which is part of his persona. He's a hothead. He runs into battle first. He does all these crazy things. And being a young dude who's buck wild, and straight, he likes ladies and he likes the fame that brings the ladies in and all that stuff, right? The thing is, they don't even have to focus on that, but don't like take that out of his character either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not even the character anymore at that point. He's just somebody that they created, a brand new Johnny Storm, and they're doing it for modern Hollywood, modern entertainment, the modern audience that doesn't exist. We've been seeing that they want to change everything around from what we know, and they're doing it because to Baggage Claim's point, like we've lost chivalry. There's no chivalry any longer because feminism frankly destroyed it. Because girls now feel like I don't need a man to do anything. I can do whatever I want. I can do the same things that a man can do. And men used to actually, go out of their way to be kind and gentle and protect women. And, we've kind of destroyed that. So now when you're trying to make a movie or think of a character that would fit within the mindset of today's world, a womanizer kind of maybe doesn't work, but at the same time, neither does a total pushover. So who do you go? Which direction do you go in? It's just kind of, that's why I say just stick with what we know and we'll be fine.
Henry Cavill, that's the direction.
There was a great character.
They're all over the place, man.
I 100% agree. It's like I like, that's the way I was raised. It's the way I was gentleman, chivalry, honor comes first. But there's a great character that was just done that way. If you haven't seen 1923, and the second season really showed it. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, the main guy in there is not Harrison Ford, even though he does a great role with Helen Mirren. The other male lead, they're basically like
my nephew, the one who returned from Africa.
He is, because he had in the first season a lot of women come after him. You're talking about I think it's in the late 20s, and he's an African safari hunter, setting up this classic character, but he ignored.
I believe the year is probably 1923.
23, yes, it is. But I thought it was a few years after that. Yeah, I know.
But George, I mean, even that, I don't know if any of you guys have watched the Adolescence on Netflix, but it's a devastating indictment of men today, young men, and what's happened to them. It's and what's happened to fathers. I mean, it's just
right, but
it's an extraordinary piece of television. I wouldn't necessarily call it entertainment, but because it was just hardcore. But what's really interesting is also gets into the idea that what men and women now want out of life, that women are competing for 20% of the men that exist, and 80% of the men, are disenfranchised because they can't live up to these unrealistic expectations of the world today. And all of that has been sort of also shaped by social media. And that's another thing that our traditional roles to play are completely blown out of the water. And now it's, I mean, even the idea of what people think men can make in terms of salary a year is completely unrealistic. I mean, the amount of money people actually make on a weekly or yearly basis, most people, if you would ask them on social media, especially young people in high school or college, they don't even have any inkling of the reality of what life actually is. Because again, people aren't living it. They're on social media. And like when we were kids, everyone I knew worked. When we were teenagers, people got their driver's licenses at 16. They got jobs. They worked in the mall. They worked in department stores. They worked wherever. And it was almost like, and I lived in a fairly upper middle class environment. I went to public school, but everybody worked, and there was this, like, our parents didn't just give us stuff, and nowadays I don't see the world as, also there's not very many places for high school students to work anymore. A lot of the places that we worked are gone. And it's a totally different world that people are trying to navigate now. And I think what men are being trained to do is pretty terrifying. And there's not a lot of ways. I mean, even the idea of getting a car, which is very much a masculine rite of passage. When you got a car, the day we turned 16, all my buddies and I, we all went and got our license, not together, different birthdays, but then you go and you pick your friends up, you go to a movie or you go get some pizza, but you all went in the car together.
Getting a wreck.
It represented a freedom. It represented, now that you could drive, you could go anywhere at any time. Now, but we don't have that. We have Uber. You don't have to think about it. You just have an app. You go somewhere. But when we drove, you're behind the wheel of a car. As soon as you go on a freeway, you understand that you're part of an ecosystem. There's millions of people going to and fro, and you have to train your mind how to drive a car. And you're interacting with the world around you in ways that you've never done before. And it makes you keenly aware that you have to watch out, not just for yourself, but everybody else coming from every other direction. And even though it seems innocuous, the very act of driving makes you aware that you're part of a community. You're part of a world that is moving, that's going to and fro at a lightning pace. And we don't even have that anymore because most kids aren't getting their driver's licenses when they're 16.
Well, no, they're being cut out of technology, and the way we're moving forward is cutting out kids out of many experiences that they're missing out.
And those things, even though they had nothing to, that you're learning about by osmosis.
Right.
You're learning about a world of people that you don't know.
But we also
you're interacting with on a daily basis, and it makes you think differently.
But we also have boys who no longer are being raised or taught how to be men.
Yes.
And it's coming from every aspect of society. I mean, how many, it's like I had younger cousins who are like, they'd come up for advice like, I'm dating this girl and she wants me to be like her best friend, like almost to, that's where I got the line for the moment. We're like, to braid her hair, but then she has no respect for me because I'm the girlfriend. I'm like, you got to be you. It's like, so I started talking to him like, it's like, what is a man? And so we're going through this whole thing, and I noticed that him and his friends are the same exact way. They have this idea that has been drilled into them that to be a man is negative, is bad. You have to be more of like a girl in what they view girls, the way they've been taught. And it's just, it's very sad. But I think, again, the story that's been coming out, especially since, in my view, since Trump got elected, is another story from Washington, is another story from the government fighting back against what I would say is the Hollywood story. Is one is like, it's okay to be a man. It's okay to be strong. Okay, this is how you need to be. You don't abuse it. Because everybody takes it whenever you say a strong man, they're like, wife beater, and
It's all these negative connotations to it instead of, and I noticed this, by the way. So I'm part of a group of friends that all of us have met people and married really late. Some of my friends are still unmarried, and granted, I live in a city where it is Neverland, where people really do refuse to grow up. And one of the things I have noticed with some of my friends that did get married, one of them is currently, she actually just had her baby. She had a very difficult pregnancy, but at the baby shower, she was running around. First of all, it was a high risk pregnancy, and she was running around. She was kind of doing everything, but her husband was it was almost as if he was just attending the party, and not that the party was for him and his child that's about to be born. And that's one thing I've also noticed, is that first of all, there's a very big shortage of men that are self-assured and masculine, especially in the city. And then on top of it, there are a lot of women who sort of, to self-empower, choose men that are particularly timid and unassuming, because then they're easier to control and easier to push around. And you don't really have to wrestle with them, because I'm a very independent woman. At least I was until I got into my relationship. Now I've become less so. But a lot of my issues with my husband were like, we were both fighting for control. We were fighting for power. If you're married to someone who is a very fully embodied man, you're going to have a power struggle until you guys sort of iron out those little details. And I noticed that a lot of the women who were very overpowered didn't want that. They didn't want a man that they had to wrestle with and deal with. They wanted a man that they could kick around. And then the problem is that that's all well and dandy until while your health is great and you're earning more than him and all of those fun things, until you have a high risk pregnancy and you have a baby, and now you are completely taken out. You have almost no agency. You have almost nothing you can accomplish, because all you're responsible for is taking care of a very fragile life. And that's when you see that, did you pick a man who actually can take care of you, actually hold you and carry you? Or did you pick someone who's essentially a servant to you?
Right.
Not in a good way.
Nobody respects servants. I mean, in that regard, not you hire, but nobody respects that, because you're talking about a doormat. I mean, when I've covered Harry and Meghan, I always say that it's like Harry's a doormat. When you look at what he did, you go from being, anyway, that's a whole other subject. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There is this point, though, that we're turning, and are you seeing the change happen from your end, Gothix, in society and culture? Especially, you're having a lot more fun now with Ripperverse, so it gives you a different perspective.
I get, okay, so yeah, I see some change, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I don't think we're ever going to reach a point where we can say we've fixed all of these problems, because these problems have been in existence since the beginning of time. And like, as far as like the idea of men fitting into their masculine role and women fitting into their role, the core issue here is that people think the standards for these is whatever society says. You sort of just go through life and you observe, within your community, what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. But we're essentially saying that these standards are just human made. They're all made up. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. And so that's why I say, like, unfortunately, yeah, people are waking up, but we're still sort of allowing society to guide us in one particular direction. And if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, you're always going to have this problem, unfortunately.
But I guess it's which rudder society. I mean, like, which captain is society pointing towards to change, to redirect the rudder, to move us back into a more traditional.
You know what's interesting, George? Like,
yeah,
there is a biological component to the way men and women relate to one another in regards to the family, especially. And, like Baggage Claim is saying, these women that are picking beta males, let's just call them beta males, weak men, or, somebody that they can kick around and do whatever they want to do. It does come to a point when, okay, now I'm having a child, and now I've picked a man that's kind of weak and he can't step up and do the things that I need a man to do at this point in time. And it's like, yeah, that was kind of your own choosing. And we see society kind of shaping men to be weak, to be weaker than the woman. But there's going to be, in every relationship, there's going to be a quote unquote man and a quote unquote woman. Somebody's going to be, the stronger person. That's just kind of the way biology has built us, and it's usually supposed to be the man. If the man can fall into the male role and do what men generally will do, the relationship will work out a lot better.
Yes.
And I think ultimately, once you get down to it, picking men or weakening men in society has had a negative effect across the board, regardless of, whether it's, the way that we deal with each other in social relationships, how we deal with each other in, politics and government. All of that has had a negative effect on the world. And the only way that we're going to get out of this is we have to start reinstituting things that, fit biology. Men are the stronger sex. They are, the ones that go out there and kill the meat, and they bring it home for the family, and then the woman takes care of the family and raises the children. That's the way society worked for I don't know how many years. And we've gotten away from that, and now we're going backwards, and we're trying to rejigger society into something else. And it's like, okay, you see it's not working, all right? It's just like we talk about Hollywood. You see you're not making any money. You see you're not selling any tickets. Are you going to change, or are you going to keep going in this direction? But I think right now, it's kind of hard, like Gothix said, we've kind of gone down this path for so long. How do you turn this ship around?
I don't even think, you know what, though? It's not just about weak men, though. I mean, there are guys out there who, want to have that role, and who want to be fathers, who want to be husbands. The problem is now, though, because of feminism, that a woman could just walk away from a relationship, take the kid, take half of everything the guy owns, and stop the guy from even seeing his own child, right? So we've given women a lot more power while at the same time reducing men to just basically simps.
Servants. Yeah. Simps and servants.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, here is
there's a lot that goes into this. This isn't just about weak men.
No, it's not about
I mean, but that's part of it, Dante.
You have a
men
lot of
didn't stand up
but
to men.
there's a 1-2 punch to this, is what I'm trying to say.
You have to have a foundation. Okay, Andre needs to go, and we'll outro him out.
Unfortunately, it's a very interesting discussion. I just want to point something. There was a comment that was made in the chat there, which is also true, and it goes to what you were saying, that what typically gets attention in the media is I'm trying not to get your stream demonetized, so I'm just going to say usage of the app of the domestic variety, catch my drift. That what gets all of the attention is when this is perpetrated by men upon women. But someone pointed out in the chat that half of these cases is actually women doing it against men. I've read statistics that say it's far more, much more than half of users of the app are actually women in the relationship, but men are completely and utterly powerless because the law is against them.
Yes.
So that also goes into it. A woman, she wants to get a man out of the house. All she has to do is call the cops and issue a fake claim that he did something against her. Doesn't need any proof or anything like that, and boom, he's going to be hit with what's it called again? Like you can't visit the house or something like that. Protection order. Yeah, restraining order. Instantly, no proof is needed. And this is part of it as well. Like that, basically, due to the way that the laws are right now, men are completely powerless. This all works together. Anyway, that was a very different direction of the stream. Would love to be here more, but I unfortunately I have to leave. But check out Midnight's Edge in our most recent video, which actually is on the Fantastic Four and the topic we spoke about earlier. And have a great rest of the stream.
You too, my
thanks
friend.
for having me, George.
Always good to see you.
Always good to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure to see all of you here. So yeah, have a great rest of the stream. Take care.
Wonderful. I'm going to show this quick trailer from Predator, and then we're going to look at something that happened in Columbus, Ohio. Real quick. I thought it was interesting, this trailer. Get it going. It's the new Predator film coming out for Hulu. They're basically showing the Predator throughout history. It's pretty much it. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Animation is probably the best way to go about it too.
You are old enough now. It's time I tell you about the monster. We must kill it, or it will kill us all.
It looks like fun.
It doesn't look bad at all.
Nope.
I don't mind that.
No, I started noticing the other day there was a gentleman who was saying that he laid out what's going on with AI and animation and in Hollywood, and he was saying by the end of 2026 he thinks that half the commercials will all be AI made. Then by 2027 all commercials will be, and Hollywood will start. Independent studios will start making more fully AI films. By 2030, half the movie industry will be AI films, and they go on, and Hollywood will try to make a comeback by doing these great stories. But he was saying that animation is you're gonna start to see that most of the old classic films are gonna start to be reskinned in anime.
Well, they can change. People will be able to insert themselves into their favorite movies.
Yeah, I just found it interesting. Like they were talking about Star Wars. They'll make a full, the original series, but in anime, because they're like, anime is where it's at now. And they need to bring in the money. And AI is making that easier. It was fascinating. Here we had body cam footage this week, something talking about another story that people are telling themselves. We'll watch the first minute of it and see what everybody thinks. This happened in Columbus, Ohio, at a middle school. Middle school.
Those guests who are expecting to have products. No, that's locked. You gotta wait till he comes to get you, sir.
What?
You have to wait till he comes to get you, sir.
I'm here on official police business.
I get that. I just radio for the Central Security. Just have to wait for him to come in here to pick you up. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Well,
I'm just saying that I'm just going by the rules that I've been instructed. This radio
I thought
come get you.
Has your teachers union and the lawyers spoke with you? Huh? Have they spoke with you?
No.
We're here on official police business.
I get that. But Central Security is on their way to come and get you.
So what happened was the police officer they had a call that there was a bomb hoax at the school. And he's going in, and the secretary stops him saying, you can't go in without permission. We got to get a hold of security. We have union rules. And it goes on, this exchange where they bring in the principal.
Okay, we have authority over safety and security. Do you understand that?
Well,
We're Columbus Police.
I have authority over my principal. You do not offer my principal to me. So she tells me, for you guys to wait. You're not the first one to go through this. And I'm not trying to be combative, but he told me to let you know, let him know when you got here. He's going to let you know. And I just sprayed on him. He's coming to get you. Okay?
Okay, well.
I'm just telling you what I go through.
Okay, but did the union and the lawyers speak with, did they speak with you?
No.
They have not.
And I'm not in the teachers union, so no, they wouldn't speak with me.
Okay, well, when we're here on official police business, we are over safety and security.
I will talk to legal about that in just a second. I will email them and ask them.
I will call. This is ridiculous. We are here in official capacity.
You notice how the police officer, he's trying to be kind. I mean, he's really going out of his way. If this was in Texas, they would have arrested her for obstruction, which was odd because he keeps talking to her like, I'm a cop. We have a report. I need to go check if the students, what's going on. She's like, well, you can't. You got to wait for
I
security.
understand why they just didn't do it anyway.
Yeah, like why does he need her permission? Like I'm just all right. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna go on here and check on these students though, and you can do whatever it is you got to do. And if y'all want to
call the cops,
or whatever, like man, I'm walking on past her. Like, what are you doing? Y'all wasting time.
The thing is, they're trying to be. If they weren't polite like that, you know, the narrative would get turned around that these cops were
racist.
And that's, I mean, that's another thing. We've look, I've had a lot of different interactions with cops in my life. I mean, I've even been in LA County Jail. I'll admit that. Most of those interactions have been positive.
Gotcha.
And I've seen not positive. I mean, look,
positive with the police or positive in jail?
Positive with both, actually.
Oh.
Positive with the police. I could tell you a great story about that. I have a great story about going to jail. It's great, but it's positive. Believe it or not. But nowadays we can't. Everybody's been. All of our institutions have been discredited in some way, shape, or form, and you know the police have to be incredibly careful and walk over eggshells. And in the meantime, it can cost people their lives. It can. I mean, they don't know what they're walking into, and you know the cops are there to, for the most part, to help us out. And, you know, I've worked with a lot of cops with this lecture series. I do this medical, I've done a lecture series that I've been shooting and directing since 2017 with first responders to teach how to provide medical care in active violent events before EMTs or ambulances can arrive.
Wow.
So if you're in a situation where you've been shot, either you've been shot or someone else has been shot, you will learn aid to be able to save the life of somebody that might otherwise die without your help. And I've been working with we do it up in Portland, with local police and special operators. And it's been a very positive experience, but it's very disheartening to listen to what the police have to go through now.
Oh, wait.
And
watch, Rob. It gets worse. That's wait till the principal pops in. That's why I wanted to get everybody's take as we go through this.
But you're not the only one. So I'm just going by what I know that I've been told by my principal.
So if a teacher's being beat up, I have to ask you to let me through the door. Is that what you're saying?
No, I need Mr. Howell in my office ASAP, please.
So if a teacher's getting beat up, I have to go through you to get to that teacher. That's what you're saying. So yeah,
I'm just telling you what I was told.
So if they have an emergency here, she has to decide if it's a big enough emergency.
Let them know what they need to do. Are you taking them out that way? Are you taking them out? What's going on?
I'll put them in the conference room for right now.
Thank you, please.
I was trying to explain to her that the Columbus police she said we have to wait for safety and security. Columbus police are over safety and security. If there's an emergency here, I don't need to explain to her, I need to get in here and get in here now instead of go through this. What?
Not according to the district rules that they give us.
Now,
There's an active shooter. We have to
so if you have a shooting, she's going to sit here and determine to let us in. That's not acceptable.
It's pandemonium in there. It's like the officer's trying to do his job, and they're going through this. They started this. I did some research. The school district basically started doing this. This is somebody asked. This is in Ohio. They started doing this after President Trump basically said that there are no safe spaces. How Biden had it where ICE couldn't go into schools, churches. There are two other places I can't remember, but they couldn't go into them. And he said, no, ICE can go into any place they need to be able to deport whoever need to grab. If there's somebody who's a criminal, blah, 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 blah. And so right after that, the school district that this is a part of, that this elementary school, this middle school is a part of, made a rule that they won't allow officers in without a warrant unless there's an active shooter situation, except for the fact they got a call that there's a bomb threat. So it's pretty crazy, but it's very odd to me that the officer did not arrest everybody right there. Okay, obstruction of justice.
Facts.
Very, very funny.
It's really interesting because so much of American society is built on the civility like built in how people relate to each other. We're talking earlier about people just willing to throw water at each other or punch. You know, these are very atypical for generally like acceptable rules for American behavior. Like I was reading up on this case actually that happened back in the 90s in India, where a female minister was she was in the chambers of like it was related to local governance, and a bunch of the male ministers started just beating her up, and they trampled over her, they pulled her hair, they were trying to pull even her clothes off, and it was obviously a very something very terrible, something like that could even happen. But I think people here, because first of all they don't have the context of history, they don't have the context of other cultures, maybe they haven't seen, there's this they've instead just been taught that anything white man built is bad, anything and then any sort of anything to do with the police is bad, and you shouldn't cooperate, when they don't realize that one of the reasons that America is as wonderful as it is and has been one of the most successful societies ever created has been because it's all been on this basis of civility and respect for the law. The idea, like when I moved here, I was only 11 years old. And to me, one of the pieces that I found very perplexing, I moved from India, and that I found very perplexing was the idea that 4 cars could approach an intersection with only stop signs and they could function from that. That people would wait their turn and let each other. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's bred into all of us. It's built in, and it is so civilized that you would just wait your turn. If you put stop signs like that in India, then nobody would respect them. Nobody would care. First of all, there's not even a police officer around. People choose to follow the law, and it's a very precarious balance that exists in society, that everybody's willing to follow the law and respect the police officers who are the keepers of the law. And what Robert was saying earlier too is that there's this disconnection from reality. The more we've gone online, there's a disconnection from consequences. So people have become less and less aware of how society is functioning. The fact that every morning we get up and we have hot water should be considered a miracle. The fact that we're not run over by riots and like barbarians because there are people watching the gate. There are people keeping the peace in the middle of the night on our streets so that we can sleep soundly in our bed. But there's this lack of connection to reality. But then the next level is also there's a lack of any sort of gratitude for what really tough men are willing to do to keep everybody else safe. And it's this disrespect that the more we amplify it, and I don't think it is. I think we're actually seeing the last vestiges of it. I actually think that we are in the reversal. The pendulum swing is coming back. But of course, these beliefs are so embedded in people that they're going to, just as they're being forced to give up these ideas, they're going to fight the hardest, right? That's why the reason that people suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, the reason it's really exploding now is because he's doing a good job. And people don't know how to really get their head around that, because a lot of their belief is in the idea that he's an idiot, he's stupid, he could never do anything good for the country. So
Right.
they don't. So if the market goes down one day, they're like, great, that proves our point. If the market goes back up and does a correction, they're like, they completely lose it, and then they move on to the next thing to criticize, because it's part of that identity belief, but that's so disconnected from reality at the end of the day.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, Baggage Claim. Perfectly. Beautifully. Wow. And we're gonna watch a couple more seconds of this, another minute, and watch how it plays out.
This is not acceptable. We haven't.
So
That's the
I know,
principle.
Mr. Howe, come on back over here, please. The door, please.
So what I'm going to do is get back a hold again with the teachers union. I'm going to get a hold of legal,
What
because
does the teachers union have to do with this?
because it seems like they're some of the only people that have pull. If we have an emergency at the school, I should not have. I should not have to explain to this woman why I'm here. I don't come here for party time. I come here on official police business. This is a game we've been playing for years. This is a game we no longer want to play with you. You should be welcoming us. You called us. If you don't want me here, and if you want me to beg you to get through that door, don't call me.
Okay, well, I'm not really sure all that happened, but
it's all on recorded on body cam.
Well, but I just came over here because I heard some noise going on. I heard my secretary having to argue or whatever was going on. What I do know is, and I want to make sure this is on camera too, we felt a lot of disrespect by some of the members of the Columbus Police Department.
Did anybody notice disrespect here? I'm just curious.
From her.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Robert?
Well, it's if there was a bomb threat, if it turned out to be a real bomb threat and a bomb went off and kids died because this exchange was happening, can you imagine the hell that would break loose?
Of course, but see, I think this is part of that whole underlying the Cloward Piven strategy, which was the breakdown of society. You know, you want to break all of society down in order so that everybody has to turn to the government and go, hey, we have the solution.
Well, and also, they also want, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm really not, because usually, unfortunately, it always comes down to money. Yep. You know, just look where the money's going. If someone's getting rich or whatever, I wish that, you know, Satan himself came up from the Stygian depths of hell and was manipulating our society to take all of our souls away or something, because that would he would at least have a purpose as opposed to just making more money, which seems short-sighted, really. But, you know, we are being, it's almost like we're being engineered to, like we were talking about baggage claim and our civility. I love civilization. I've always called myself a civilizationist. Right. And the fact that in America, as you pointed out, we can agree to stop at a 4-way stop sign and everyone knows how to work that. We're taught that from when we take driver's ed, and that was one of the things I was meaning when you learn to drive.
Right.
You know, you learn that civility is built. We're going to stop at a red light. We're going to stop at stop signs. We're going to yield to other people. We have a whole driving is all about civility. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. I mean, I've been to other countries, like you're pointing out India. I've never been to India, but I've seen images about how they drive in India. It scares the hell out of me, let me tell you. But we have these things that we completely take for granted in our civilization. And these are being undermined. The guardrails that allow us to live in a civil society are slowly being removed, and distrust in the police, is not bared out with what's actually happening on the ground in terms of what people think is happening on the ground. And while I see this happening, and it scares me, because one day, how long is it going to be before someone comes to your door and just says, you know what, this house it's not yours anymore. Get the hell out.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's happened.
But that's the thing.
Well, they're already doing that, Rob, when people squatting in people's houses. I mean, this is already happening in California.
I know. And that's terrifying to me.
Look at Roland Fryer. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that kind of civility is something that we've always taken for granted in this country, that we've protected. I mean, we don't have the lawless West anymore for a reason. And it is starting to swing a way that is a little strange to me, that the fact that you can't get squatters out of your house.
Right. Have you ever looked into Roland Fryer, the Harvard researcher, one of the youngest?
Oh yeah. When he was talking about police, he was the guy that was talking. Yeah.
He did all the research on police and on stops. And he was basically, when it comes down to it in the end, everything is pretty much fair and equitable. But he had to hide for over a year because he was being hounded by people. I mean, you're talking about he had to hide.
He has great hair.
Yes.
He has great hair.
But it's just insane. So this interaction went on.
We also have to, look, there's a lot of things that have been obviously programmed into us, right? But I think we need to kind of just start take the kitty gloves off and be honest here, right? Okay. And what I mean by that is there's a certain group of people who've been more programmed than others, right?
Correct.
Black people being one of them, and liberals being the other, right? I mean, this kind of stuff.
You really think so? I guess you really think so, or is it?
Oh, absolutely.
Or is it certain sections of the country?
No, look, don't get me wrong. Everyone could be a little cultish in their beliefs, right? It's take the average Christian, right? I'm not saying Christians are part of cults. I'm just saying, but some can take it to that extreme, right?
I've always wondered if it was coastal,
just like anything else. And tribalism is a big deal, right? But I don't know. There is something so. I think when it comes to liberals, man, like they look. It's easy to program them. It's easy to fool them. It's easy to trick them into believing something. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because they're vegans and they're not getting enough meat. I don't know why it is. But
you need meat, damn it.
But you show them one image, right? And they could build a whole fantasy world around that one image. You get what I'm saying?
Look at the image they built this week.
And if you do that enough,
the hell is that?
No, go on.
You lose logic and reason. And a lot of these people don't have logic and reason, right? Yeah. Look, I grew up in the 80s, 90s. I've had altercations with cops. I was never a gangbanger, never a drug dealer. I was actually a pretty decent kid for the most part, just read comic books and shit like that. But I've had issues with cops. But at the same time, I've also had good experiences with cops, right? But they never want to hear that part of it. They never want to hear when I say
it doesn't fit the narrative.
I've had good experiences with cops, right? So because the narrative is wrong. Like you said, the narrative.
Right. But when you were saying that blacks have been programmed, right? And I was countering, do you think it's a coastal? Do you think it's a coastal issue? Because I don't encounter that in Texas.
Yeah, look, when I say blacks, I'm talking about American blacks. I'm not talking about these Jamaicans or the Nigerians. I'm talking about like American black folks. I'm talking about
California and New York. I don't find what you're describing in Texas. That's what I meant. I wonder if it's more.
It's a little there. There's a reason why, like I would say, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm gonna say
that's why I'm asking.
90% of black folks vote Democrat. I mean, maybe that's too high. Maybe that's, but it's up there, right? I mean, I'll put you this way: 90% of the black people I know vote Democrat.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anymore. I think a lot of eyes were open, especially with Trump. But I get what you're saying.
I think amongst men it went down to 70%. But amongst Black women, it was in the 90s or higher percent. So it is still a very high majority. But I think people are waking up, and I completely agree that there's a cultish behavior, and one could argue that maybe 40 or 50% of the population don't really think about what they believe. They just sort of follow along with whatever's stylish at the time. That if there's a culture of, and like the movies are saying this and the news is reflecting this, of being very sort of self-reliant, then people will go along with that. Or being very, making really rude jokes. Like in the early 2000s, you had movies like American Pie, and like it was totally okay to make very offensive jokes. So the population went along with that. And I think it's like there's I think a 20% subset that drives the culture in one direction, and a big chunk then follow along. But most people don't really sit and think a ton about what they believe and why they believe it. And so they just kind of go along.
I agree with that.
I mean, you take a look at this like Carmelo Anthony thing, man. It's like, it's kind of like when OJ, when OJ got arrested and that whole trial thing went on. Every black person in the world knew he was guilty. We knew he was guilty, right? But what were they screaming? Free OJ.
Free OJ. God, I heard that. Right. I never understood that. Yeah, I know. We have it right now. We have it. There's people are flipping out over here because they're going through and they're like, how are you trying to demonize the victim? They're trying to demonize the victim here. This kid got stabbed because he's like, you're sitting in our, not in our side. He was sitting in their
under their tent.
Under their tent. Your side's over there. That's your team over here. This is where, and all of a sudden you get stabbed in the heart.
So self-defense happens when there's no other alternative, right?
Correct.
That kid had alternatives.
Right, but
that didn't need to happen at all.
Of course not.
Completely 100% avoided.
Yeah. Jimmy, to show you a great example, here's a great example. I had this in case we talked about Carmelo. Hold on.
Verbal, I was going to say, I ain't saying he should have killed her. I understand.
No, I'm saying you handle it with your fist, man. Like if someone's,
you mean like a man? Yeah,
you throw hands. But this guy literally like brought a knife.
Yeah, what was
brought a knife to school? They brought a knife to a track meet And,
there was no
and then reached in the bag and said, touch me and see what happens. Like,
see, really
that's
quick,
crazy,
because you guys just said something that kind of lit a light bulb. All right. So remember earlier I was talking about how unfortunately society, when they're looking at like what the ideal model for masculinity is, they're getting that model from society. I don't think it's masculine to resort to using your fists. I think there is a sense of, if I'm being honest, it's a little bit mentally and emotionally weak if you think that the first resort, like you have to resort to doing that instead of like taking yourself out of the equation. I think there's a level of meekness that
100%.
both male and female should embody in society, you know, and I think that's part of the problem. I think what people don't understand is that there is a battle of worldviews in society. And the idea that education, or that certain people, and I agree that blacks in particular, like they're very brainwashed, you know, large percentage of them are liberal. But I think the thing about deception is you don't actually know when you're being deceived. And I think a lot of people are sort of just following the leader from all facets of life. We're just all following each other's behavior instead of saying, okay, is this objectively true? Should I build my life on this objective foundation, or are we sort of just making things up along the way? Which is why I think that we're just in this cycle of bondage. Every couple of years, something bad happens, we wake up, and then we're back to square one because we never learn our lesson.
I see your point of view, but I
saying
can
first
tell
off,
you that
I'm saying, like, if you're in a situation where you have no choice, right? Like if they're coming at you, you got to defend yourself. Like that again, it could have been handled a different way. You know, him pulling out a blade was just crazy.
It is, but I see Gothix. I see your point of view, but there's also a thing like with all the guys that I grew up with, and half of them I still know. You get into a debate, if it gets to a point, guys, we could knock the hell out of each other, and 2 seconds later we're going to have a beer. That's how we've always done it. It's like when I see this generation, it's the oddest thing. They will hit first before talking. Or if they disagree, we would be like, okay, you know, you're an asshole, and somebody's going to hit somebody. Like, yeah, you got that? He's like, no. And they hit you back. And then you're like, okay, cool. Let's go have a beer. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's a throwback to a different time, but I do see what you're saying.
No, I get what you mean too. Like
self-defense, and the fact that they're trying to plead self-defense for this kid is crazy to me.
It is crazy. They have a GoFundMe page, and it keeps blowing through. I want to know who is funding it.
But again, zero accountability. And so going back to this video with this woman, if there was a bomb that went off, guarantee you they would be defending her.
Yeah.
Even though there's a bunch of dead kids because of a bomb that she could have prevented, right? They'll still blame the cops instead of her.
Well, look at this grandmother here. She's talking to her grandson after, I believe, hold on, he was given, where is it here? Don Luker had showed it. Police released footage that is going viral of a grandmother speaking with her 50-year-old grandson in an interrogation room after he was sentenced to 35 years for murder.
And then you want to pray, if you get a second chance, how you gonna turn this here around, okay? So your life ain't over. You just need a second chance. So that's what you need to dwell on and pray about. A second chance. And sit down and think about how you gonna make this happen. And obey your parents. And come home on time. Come home. Number one, streets don't love you. We love you, not the streets. You see what the streets get you? Could you give me a hug, baby? I'm sorry you got to go through.
She goes on and she keeps telling him that, you know, you have to listen to your parents. You have to follow God. You have to, make your bed. You have to do the right things, not the streets. It was a very inspirational the way she was speaking to him. And she's like, I didn't want to know any of this, but we got to do what we have to do now.
Yeah, he needed that before that, though.
He did.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that they ain't getting that before that, and they're taught that human life doesn't really have a value to it, so you're just running the streets doing whatever it is you need to do in a given moment, and then suddenly you get in a situation, you get caught up, and guess what? Now your life is over. Right. Instead of having a father in the house, or maybe he has his father in the house and the father's just not,
he don't give a damn
dealing with it, but that's the big problem, is that a lot of these kids are growing up and they don't have that guidance until something happens, and until, I don't know what the solution to that is, because that's the problem when it comes to the Black community, is this this lack of, I guess, empathy and seeing the situation. Like, why would you pull out a knife? Why would you go straight to the knife? Like you said,
Well, why would you take a knife there?
Why go there? Like, there's a lot of options between argument, disagreement, and killing a man. Like,
did they know each other? That I don't know the background of that
Yeah,
situation.
supposedly they knew each other, and there's a narrative going around that that he was getting bullied by the guy he stabbed, and
Yeah, but that's a new one. You believe that?
no, I said it's a narrative. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that.
believe that.
Because when it first came out, when the story was reported, they're like a stranger who came to a game that didn't know each other.
Yeah, that
And
seemed
now-
wrong to me. That something like that would happen if it
It's just the idea that you can just jump immediately to
a knife.
deadly force. Like, I'm just gonna grab my knife and stab you. Like, what? Like, why
And
would
who-
you go there?
and who
Fight,
taught that kid
yell,
to do
scream,
that?
argue. We're getting into it. We're going back and forth. It's like the first thing he did was reach. At least according to those witnesses, the first thing he did, reached in the bag, grabbed the knife, and said, "Touch me and see what happens." And it's like, that's your first move. No, I'm not leaving, and no, leave me alone. No, I'm gonna stay here or whatever. And then, they're back and forth arguing for, a while or whatever. And then, then they start pushing each other and getting their hands on each other. The first thing this guy did was, jump straight to the deadly force. And that's crazy to me, man.
Yeah, and they just came out. They just came out and said that there's no possibility. He will have to have parole because of a Supreme Court ruling. So it's off the table. There's no life without possibility.
Life
of
in it.
parole.
Okay, yeah.
And just to go back earlier before we go to our last couple of subjects,
That depends if they try him as an adult or not, right?
they can't. Yeah, they can't because of his age. They said they're not going to try it. And now I think the other report that came out is that his defense is going to try to move the venue.
Wait, they can't try murder as an adult?
He's a minor because of some Supreme Court ruling from 2012, which states you can't have the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole for someone who is not an adult for a minor. You considered, Sotomayor said it's cruel and unusual punishment to basically tell a minor that you're in the box for life.
Can I just ask, have any of you read the Thomas Sowell book? I think it's called Black Rednecks, White Liberals. Have any of you heard of this?
Yeah, I've heard of the book.
I've heard of it.
I love Soul. I watch him all the time.
It's brilliant.
It's such a that book really did blow my mind, and I would recommend it to anybody, who's interested in understanding sort of how culture develops from different areas. But one of the main things for anybody who hasn't read it, that Thomas Sowell talks about is that a lot of Black culture that got developed in the South, and then it impacted. It was both the whites and the South, and the Blacks in the South, came from Scottish. The Scottish culture, where in Scotland, people were very quick to jump to violence. Whereas the North developed, it was the heritage came more from England, where the propensity was that if there was a disagreement, you would talk about it. But in Scotland, it's like you jump right to action and you jump to the worst type of violence possible. And typically it was with your hands, you castrated your whoever you were up against. I mean, or like took out an eye, gouged out an eye. So that it was that kind of very, very much like you had to immediately prove that you're the stronger person to win. It was never about letting other people legislate, let the police step in, let the courts handle this, or let's just sort it out with our words instead of fists. And it's really interesting because that really has taken over the Black community in America massively. This idea that you have to prove yourself instead of actually going and focusing on your education and like furthering yourself and creating stability. It's like that culture really took over. And I wish Thomas Sowell, I wish he had more of a voice, because I think he's such a great leader for his community, especially on this point, because he understands the nuanced troubles that African Americans have suffered here.
100%. He is brilliant. A national treasure.
Absolutely.
Period. Yeah, here it is where they stated it. Oops, sorry, stupid. On Wednesday, April 10th, Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis said Anthony will not face death penalty if convicted. WFAA was the first to report Willis's assertion. The Supreme Court has said not only can you not seek the death penalty against someone who committed a crime when they're 17, you can't even give them life without parole. This was the precedence that the district attorney announced, and now they're saying they want to move the venue. It's nuts what's going on. The thing is who taught him that pulling out the knife is the first resort. You know, why didn't he just whack him, hit him, run it? I mean, talk, anything. It really says a lot. Plus, and when we're talking about stories and cults and radicals, I kind of gave a glimpse of this earlier. This is Governor Whitmer going to the White House to have a one-on-one meeting with President Trump. Right? Then a photographer comes in the room, and she didn't want her base, the Democratic Party, the leftists, to see her there. So in the Oval Office, she puts a folder above her head. Tell me that is not peak woke mind virus. In the president, in front of the president of the United States. They got a picture of her from the side, and she flipped out. I don't know, I just thought that tells you the quality of politicians. Forget the side. Left, right, I mean.
So she's that afraid of her state of her base or whatever that she's got to hide her face. Wow.
I know.
How do these people get elected? How do you get
know.
elected with that kind of fear? Like, I'm walking in the Oval Office, I got to have a meeting with the president. It is what it is. Why are you hiding your face? Because you're afraid that wow, that's crazy to me.
Man. You know, I thought you would think it's like crazy. Imagine you're in there, you go DA, you're in the Oval Office with the president of the United States. Most people consider whether it's a president of their party or not part of the party, they're like, you're in the Oval Office, you're in the White House. If you accepted the invitation, you're going to go there. You're not going to be like, oh God, go away, I wasn't here. Like,
you're supposed to be a leader.
Correct.
But again, it goes back to the cultish behavior I was talking about, right?
Exactly.
I mean, they see that as a betrayal. I mean, you can see that right now if you watch that Bill Maher video where he's talking about where he met with Trump and had dinner with him.
And I got it right here. That was like,
I mean, reading through those comments, man, is wild. I mean, like, people are just pissed because they see it as a betrayal. And you know what's funny? Their meeting had nothing to do with politics. These are two guys who had a beef with each other for years, who just sat down to kind of, you know, get rid of the beef, right? They sat down as men, not as politicians or a comedian. It was just two guys having dinner to squash everything they had going on, right? Because if you guys should know, or some of you probably know that Bill Maher and Trump, they had some issue because Bill Maher made jokes about him like years before Trump even became president.
It was politically incorrect.
Trump sued him. Trump tried to sue Bill Maher. So these are just two guys trying to squash a beef,
basically.
And if you look at the liberal responses to that meeting, is wild.
They've called Bill Maher everything from a Yahtzee to a bootlicker to I mean, I can't even say some of the words in front of the ladies. I mean,
Bill Maher is liberal. He's not. He hasn't changed. He hasn't become a conservative all of a sudden. He's still a liberal.
Yeah, here he is. We can listen to the first couple of minutes.
I know you've all been waiting for. I'd like to give you my book report on my visit to the White House. Okay. As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a fucking comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute.
See, that's his point. Go back. I think we reached peak harmony in the 90s. Anyone disagree with that? Like late 90s? Like
late 90s, yeah. I think we hit a sweet spot around that time.
Yeah. Nobody cared what anybody did. Everybody was like, you do you, I do me. Don't hurt women, don't hurt kids. Good luck, God bless. Go live. It's like, and then
completely.
We had a good time. We had a great time. Anyway.
So, thank you. So, okay, so meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog. His show is dead. There's 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
See, that's yeah. To me, that's strange. That's funny, but I like it. I mean, I agree with him. I think Robert would agree with that. You don't want to have a country of haters. You got to get together and talk.
That's the whole premise of my YouTube channel, you know, is that everybody sits down to speak with one another. And it is disappointing to see that Bill Maher did something like this. I mean, what I find so strange too about like, I understand partisan politics, but it would be far more helpful if once the president was elected, we would throw our weight behind the president and at least help the administration or help the country for 4 years rather than just be contrarian. And our Congress is almost completely ineffectual because of that. And both sides are not working together anymore at all. And how are we supposed to solve the major problems that we have? I mean, I admire Bill Maher for doing what he did.
I know, but look at his base is ripping him apart. That's the thing.
Well, that's because that's very, very disconcerting. Because are they really interested in the good of the country?
No. No, not at all. Not when you break it down.
It's about the tribe. It's tribalism. You know, it's about who's going to come out on top. We got to take Trump down no matter what.
I'm tired of treating politics like it's football. You know, I really wish we could get rid of these.
Well, what's funny, if you watch the rest of that show, you know, like when he has the panel on, he had one guy on the panel who was being very condescending and was basically calling Bill Maher a useful idiot for meeting with Trump because the optics look good for Trump and bad for Democrats or something like that. And I'm just like, see, that's all they see.
Yeah. Because to them, it's a sport, a blood sport, a political one. And that's the wrong way to look at it. It's about your country. It's about your home. Look, would you in your home tear it apart because you disagree over something? You want to make it the best it can be. You know what I'm saying? It's like you come together. You're not going to go, okay, I'm taking this corner of the house. I'm going to take a chainsaw, cut it down the middle, and this is my side. And whenever you come to my side, this is how it is. When I go to your side, whatever, I'm never coming to you. You know what
I mean, it depends on what household you're asking. Some people loudly live like that. But I think the problem is that people just want an excuse to be angry. There's a certain level of humility necessary in order to meet with someone that you've been perceiving as the enemy for God knows how long. And the left doesn't understand that. They don't understand the concept of forgiveness, building bridges. They think that they live in their little bubble, and because they've built their entire identity on politics or social justice or what have you, they think that they're losing their purpose. That's the thing that they're striving for, is building this weird utopia. And so the idea of having dinner with a perceived fascist, they can't understand.
And also that this, whatever Trump might do that might be, let's say, good for America, they will literally bend themselves over backwards to convince themselves that it's the wrong path, right? One of the things I found really interesting is that when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joined Trump, and his whole stance is about chemicals in our food, people were coming out and defending chemicals in their food, that the chemicals are good for you. And same with tariffs. I've been actually making more of an effort to challenge people in my social circle if they've been very particularly vitriolic about the tariffs. And I asked them, I said, like, are you okay with the offshoring that has happened and how that has harmed American workers? But the thing is, they don't want to talk about that. All they want to say is that Trump is stupid for doing this. Forget about the fact that Obama talked about the importance of reshoring and then did nothing about it. Forget the fact that over the last 50 years, every politician, left or right, has been slowly selling out the American worker. Forget that every other country in the world considers or has had tariffs at some point in order to protect their economies and their workers. That's all considered acceptable, except the fact that Trump is out to try to actually change. Like, people don't think about that we are actually so massively in debt as a country that we are very close to disaster. But
yeah, man.
But all that matters is that Trump is stupid, and that's what they need to sit on. Is like one of the things they're sitting and stewing on is that Trump is stupid. So any action he does, it's only because he's doing it out of his idiocy and his bravado. It's nothing to do with his desire to actually help the country. They don't want to believe that he wants to do anything good for the country.
But what's crazy is if Obama or Kamala,
said the same thing.
Well, I'm just saying, if they would have done the same exact thing, right?
They'd be hailed.
Every liberal, every leftist would say, "Let them cook," right?
Yep.
Right? Give them time. But they're not doing that with Trump.
But division is power, man. Division is power to the left. They got to keep the people divided. They cannot find common ground. All right. They got to divide us up. Like, again, just go look back through the history of socialism. It's always been about dividing people by class. You start off with that. You divide people by, identity now or culture or whatever. You got to divide people up because you got to, make everybody a victim somehow. And finding any kind of common ground, like Baggage Claim just said, like, we can all agree we probably need to start reshoring some of these jobs in manufacturing and bringing this stuff back to America rather than letting, globalism just run wild, because we're not even making our own medicines at this point. So we got to start doing things smarter, for our own
national
sake,
security,
for America. But no, Trump's trying to do it. It must be bad. And so we can't find any common ground, even with that very simple statement, because again, we got to keep dividing. We got to keep dividing the people. The more they divide us, the stronger the left gets. That's basically the strength of their power.
But I think, though, that to be honest, I'm no fan of Trump. But what you just said, there was a mandate, and it is a mandate. People say it wasn't. Not enough people voted for him. But I would say no. I think a lot of people did. He won all the swing states. Now people are questioning the election.
Oh God, I know that was started by Rosie O'Donnell.
Wait, are they denying the election?
In some quarters they are, but I would say this. I would say the methodology by which they're implementing these new policies are happening so fast that it has unnerved quite a lot of people.
But it has to happen fast, Robert. Otherwise,
I understand that. But I think that there could be, and the fact that one day it's one way and the next day it's another way, clearly there has not been the kind of thought, I think, that needed to be put down to explain what's happening, because it's been a little chaotic. The markets will tell you that.
Yeah, but I think it was part of his strategy. You can't tell the globe, you can't tell the American people, here's my strategy to rebuild America, because I'm going to trick these people into thinking I'm going to destroy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because look at it, 75.
You can't show your cards when you're negotiating a hard deal. You can't show all your cards.
It's true. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's been a little chaotic the last 2.5 years.
It has. But look at this, because we're going to end here, because I think I was going to talk something else about Hollywood and connect it, but I was like, I think this is a perfect place to wrap up. Sometimes you don't need to go longer just to be. This is a great show. Musk put this out yesterday. I thought this perfectly encapsulates politics, and gaslighting at its best.
This great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy. We are moving in the direction of oligarchy. We will move even more rapidly in the direction of an oligarchy. This great country is evolving into an oligarchic society.
Hey, he added the ick at the end.
It is called oligarchy, and that is the system we are rapidly moving toward. This is a budget that moves our country rapidly into the direction of oligarchy. A handful of billionaires are moving this entire planet toward an oligarchic society.
Start off with the bad news, which is pretty bad, and that is that under Donald Trump, this country is hurtling rapidly toward oligarchy.
This great country.
It just sums it all up. Yeah, but it sums it all up. There was video that they had. I'll play it next week, but they had the former speaker, Nancy Pelosi, saying the exact same things on tariffs that Trump is word for word. You had Bill Clinton saying word for word what he said on border.
And Obama too. Obama as well.
And
But that is what's interesting is that I think what we were talking about is that social media, we're in these stages of infancy.
Yeah.
But I do think now more and more people are waking up to how the media, because of social media, how media has been controlling people and really controlling what should be believed, what's the right thing to believe. First of all, it's hard to have a long memory when there's so much information. But now I think more and more people are seeing the long patterns.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we're going to start winding down. I'm going to read the super chats. I had to just share one funny line with y'all. I almost forgot. Screen Rant believes they found a way that what could have forestalled the entire Disney debacle with Snow White. And they stated it in an article this morning. Disney could have avoided this whole Snow White debacle by sticking with the movie's original premise, which wasn't centered on Snow White at all. Before Disney announced its plans to develop a live-action Snow White, the company had revealed that it would be making a live-action Snow White spin-off centered on the princess's sister, Rose Red. I don't know. That was their solution for... they're saying Rachel Zegler could have played Snow Red or whatever it is, and her sister, and it would have worked out. I still don't think so, but... And by the way, Beetlejuice 3 was confirmed. I said 2 months ago that this is the year of the reboots, and next year's Reboot Deluxe. Goonies, Gremlins, and My Bodyguard have all been greenlit. Wow. Okay, let's read the super chats and get out of here. Smickball. Oh, wow, that's an interesting name. Okay, Smickball for $5. Sanitized characters are boring and make for boring stories. 100%. You nailed it. Dead center. Thank you, Smickball. GraphWeb for $2. The most dedicated person on the internet. In the name of all that is holy, cancel Disney Plus. I love GraphWeb. Thank you, my friend. Albert Nada Retro for $2 Canadian dollars. VR. I get the struggle. I watch Good Times.
Keeping your head above water, huh, man?
I like the Jeffersons personally. It's my favorite. I did. It's the Bobos, my brother from another mother for $2. Without character flaws, you have no growth.
Also, really quickly, man, shout out to Norman Lear, man. That guy, he did a lot, man, for black actors back in the day. So,
All in the Family.
Yeah, I mean, and he told just good
writing.
Stories. Just good stories.
Could you tell an All in the Family today? That's,
Absolutely not. And Archie Bunker. No, man.
Archie Bunker, wow. Thank you, Istophobos. You're exactly right. Albert, not a retro for $5 Canadian dollars. Womanizer is a sexist term. Why is a guy a womanizer if the women are throwing it in his face? Fantastic Four first steps will tank. So will Superman. I hope Superman doesn't.
I really hope neither one tanks, man. I want them both to be good.
Yeah.
I want it to be good, yes. I have hope, but after reading that, I no longer have hope in one of them. I have hope in Superman, but I hope to be proven wrong, hopefully. Anyway, Bucky Cat for $5. Nowadays, Hollywood couldn't make the equivalent of John Borman's Excalibur. God, I loved Excalibur.
Oh, such a great movie.
And by the way, who likes here Kingdom of Heaven? Anybody like Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven besides me?
Oh, it's great.
It's
I
coming
thought
to
it was
theater.
okay.
Oh,
have you seen the director's cut?
Yeah, the director's cut's coming to the theater.
It's a whole different movie. It's like an hour longer. It's totally different.
Brilliant film. When I like
the theatrical.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I don't like the theatrical. Yeah,
not good.
It actually changes the entire film, that extra hour. Walter White Walker for $5. Boomers had it right, raising Gen X. The more you're not supposed to do or say anymore, the worse society gets. Instant gratification doesn't help. I know, but it also kills so much of the mystery of life. Instant gratification. Not everything happens every day. Instantly, it just doesn't.
I mean, we were like the last generation before the internet. So, I mean, I feel like Gen X got to at least like live some life.
Yeah.
Without being like tied to a screen.
Yeah.
Millennials too, luckily got that because for me, I'm a millennial. My Facebook started just as I got to college, but Gen X were not raised by boomers. They were raised by the previous generation, which I think is called the silent generation. Boomers are the ones who raised millennials, and they're the ones who made everybody super special. Like you were just special for existing and needed a trophy. But Gen X were raised right, I think, and had the right take on it. They're the ones who really saved us in this election. They like went really, really right on this election.
And we had a lot of fun too. You could play Superman when you were Gen X and you were a kid and jump off the roof. And when you broke your leg, your mom said, "Dumbass, did you learn your lesson?"
Walk it off.
Well, the best thing about being Gen X, man, is the fact that we got to do shit without a camera in our face 24/7.
Yes, God, I do feel sorry for kids in that regard. They can't move without. They can't move without that. Jean Ju for $7.42. Most people don't reassess their beliefs ever unless forced to do so. Usually by life, choices, circumstance. I agree. Thank you, Jean Ju. Chris Bowles for $5. Gothic is wrong. I don't know about that. Men need violence as much as men need sex. It is in our nature, but men need discipline, which is what is missing. I agree with you on that aspect. I don't think we need violence, but it's a good way to handle things. Also having that undertone that of the possibility of violence prevents a lot of violence.
I don't know if violence is the right word though.
Right.
I think we need physicality. I don't know if violence is the right word.
Well, we always know that violence or physicality is a part of, it could be the possible outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always a possible outcome to any interaction, depending on how serious people can get.
Yeah, I think violence is necessary in certain circumstances. As far as needing sex in the confines of what? Because you can take that and, end up in a polyamorous relationship or whatever. And that's not good for you.
Yeah, I don't want that. No. That's why I love Gothic. Brilliant and bad. Too brilliant. Yes, Mark Daly for $10. The leftist culture has been calling all masculinity toxic since Sex in the City. Oh, I used to call that a different name, which I can't say on the show. If masculinity is outlawed, then only outlaws will be masculine. Leftists, especially women, won't like that.
Facts.
I actually like Sex in the City, though. I mean,
you just liked it for the sex.
It was a good show.
I know now. You watch Sex in the City with Diddy at Diddy's house.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Okay. You got it. Albert, not a retro revive. Canadian. I keep wanting to say California dollars. I don't know why. Canadian dollars. I don't like Bill Maher because he defended a female playground crowd teacher. I used to be a Canuck for Trump then he said annex Canada so he can rock. Okay, well, I can understand that. Not a problem. You got to stand up for your country. I disagree with you, but it's okay. That's what Slayer Nation's about. We can agree to disagree. Appreciate it. Epic Mike for $10. Much love to George and the panel. Appreciate y'all. Love ya. Got to have you back on here. Thank you for that, Mike. All righty, let's go. Oh, we got another Walter White Walker for $2. So real dire wolves for Jon Snow. I know, doesn't that blow your mind that they made dire wolves this week?
Are they actual real dire wolves?
Yes, they found some genetic thing. We're living Jurassic Park too.
Wow, that's crazy.
They made dire wolves.
Cure for cancer.
Yes, I know. I've always believed that there's actually a cure out there in my tin hat for them. They just don't want to release it because
there's no money in cures.
I know. No money.
Do we not know how big dire wolves are? There's
size of a horse.
Yeah, there's no way we're making those now.
We made two. They were born this week. Yep. 2 dire wolves.
But then there are people who are rejecting their claim. There's some, I don't know, there's some fight happening in the scientific community about this. I didn't understand it fully. Some people are saying they are actual dire wolves. Other people are saying they're not.
I guess we'll find out soon when we see whoever grew them, if he's still alive in a couple of years.
Yeah, once they take over New York, I think we'll know whether or not they're actual dire wolves.
The CCP has been, they've been attacked several times for doing genetically interfering using CRISPR technology to create a new generation of babies, if I get this correct, that are smarter and immune to AIDS. Those are the first 2 things they've done.
Yeah, these are mad scientists, man. Like we know these people exist. Like, why are we letting them just run amok and bring back extinct creatures and shit?
Don't you want a woolly mammoth and a saber-toothed tiger?
I was just gonna say, let's bring back mammoths.
Mammoth.
Think about what we don't know is going on, though.
T-Rex. Come on, we want to see Jurassic Park come to life, right?
Let's not get to the dinosaurs if we can avoid that.
Dude,
that
all
would
I
be
know is
best.
I've read too many comic books to know this is going to turn out terrible.
Yeah. All right, let's go around the horn and thank you all. Yeah, amazing, beautiful people for coming. Gothix, where can everybody find you? What do you have coming up this week?
You can find me on YouTube at Gothix TV. Oh, that's my face. It's very large. If you watch my documentary on Amazon Prime, just look up Gothix.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Baggage Claim. Always love having you here.
Thanks for having me, George. You can find me on YouTube under Baggage Claim, though I will say I have taken a bit of a hiatus from making video essays at the moment. I have something cooking in the background that I will share more about in the coming months. But you can also follow me on Twitter. I'm Baggage Claim 11, and so I'm a little more active there. Thank you.
Wonderful. And the DA himself, Derek.
Yeah, check me out on my channel, Derek Anderson, the DA, covering Hollywood, doing rants, all kind of good stuff like that. DA's office tonight at 8 p.m. Will be announcing who won or who's the finalist for our Best Action Hero tournament. And then also I'll be on tomorrow on Film Threat Versus, so look from there as well. And then after that, I'm actually off. I'm going to be off for a while, off to Japan. Still be trying to do some content while I'm out there, you know, do some vlogs, walk-alongs, just checking out the country. It's going to be my first trip there, so I'm looking forward to that. Hanging out some anime spots. So we'll have a lot of content actually up on Anime Heads, which is my son's channel. So get over there, get registered, get subbed. And thank you very much, George. Always a pleasure.
Always love having you. Are you telling me you're going to be there for the Star Wars celebration?
I'm there. Yep. This week for celebration. And then after that, another couple of weeks just walking about. So it should be a lot of fun.
So if you see Kathleen Kennedy there, can you kind of like kick her off the stage?
I promise you, yes.
No. And Verbal Riot. What do you got coming up, my good friend?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Verbal Riot on YouTube, Rumble, and X. I just dropped a video this morning, the Bill Maher, Donald Trump video. I will be on Film Threat Versus tomorrow, as usual. And Thursdays, VRL is back. So back at 6 o'clock p.m. PST. You guys can catch me there live, talking about whatever's happening in the week.
Wonderful. I can't wait for your secret tape to come out when that, you know, I think that'll go viral. I'm sure of it. Positive.
I plead my innocence.
And then my very good friend, Robert Meyer Burnett. What do you got coming up, good sir?
Well, I too will be on Versus tomorrow. I'm on the Campiest show on Mondays through Thursdays, and then my own channel, the Burnett Work. I'm going to be back doing more videos than I have been because I have finished our audio drama True Noir. You can get all 10 chapters at truenoir.co. Very proud of it, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of news coming out about the future of this. Call it an IP now, if you will. But yeah, that's about it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Gothix, Baggage Claim, Derek, Verbal Army. Love having you here. Everybody, please go thank Eric K, Lord Thoth, Fletcher Williams is in the back producing, and we also had Mexican Iron Man. He was hanging out with all of y'all. You know, he's doing a producer's job, but just in the trenches. Thank you for all your support. You're incredible people. Love you all. And remember, we're fighters with one unbreakable rule. We never bow down. We never bend the knee. Have a beautiful week.